The story begins by introducing Fernan Pellenberg, the young lord of the ducal House of Pellenberg, the wealthiest family in the army and empire. He's a student in the magic department at the Imperial Academy, endowed with a powerful family lineage, exceptional education, and vast wealth. His greatest weakness, however, is his obsessive love for money, earning him the nickname Money Fiend. As usual, he's conducting a morning meeting, reviewing reports from his family's merchant guild, and sharply critiquing anyone who fails to meet his high expectations. It's just another ordinary day until disaster strikes without warning. While walking and chatting with his assistant, Fernan glances up on a clear, sunny day with no sign of rain. He notices something strange in the sky, a bolt of lightning speeding toward him, striking him down. The shock is so intense it takes his breath away, and his mind becomes foggy. In that vulnerable moment, a foreign soul invades his body. Confused, Fernan demands to know who this intruder is. The soul chuckles, questioning if it's possessing someone. Fernan, bewildered, asks what it means by possession, but the entity spouts nonsense and rummages through his mind. Instinctively, Fernan senses it's trying to take control of his body. With the last of his fading mana, he lashes out at the invader. The entity screams under the attack, but Fernan's counterstrike succeeds, scattering the soul across his body and allowing him to absorb fragments of it. Suddenly, unfamiliar memories flood his mind, causing excruciating pain that tears through his skull. He snaps awake, and his assistant, concerned, asks if he's all right. Fernan sees strange text floating before his eyes of prophecy, predicting the world's grim end, with the rise of Solomon's 72 demon kings, plunging the world into chaos. Worst of all, it claims Fernan will ally with a demon and lose his entire fortune. It's a glimpse of a fate worse than death. He mutters in disbelief, refusing to accept a future where he lives like a pauper. Since that day, he's been obsessed with uncovering the truth about the soul, its attempt to possess him, and the bizarre memories it carried. His search yields nothing, but one thing is clear: the prophecy seems to be coming true. So far, it's been accurate, allowing him to anticipate problems and earn substantial profits. Yet, he's far from pleased. The prophecy's accuracy means his downfall is looming closer, so he must confirm its truth beyond doubt. His assistant asks how class went, and Fernan replies it was the usual. The assistant offers coffee, and Fernan agrees. As he picks up a newspaper to check academy news, his assistant notices his odd behavior, asking if he's been feeling unwell lately. Fernan denies it, but the assistant points out he seemed preoccupied for about 6 months, often zoning out and making bizarre decisions, as if possessed, possibly a lingering effect of the lightning strike. Fernan retorts that those strange choices ended up being correct. He spots a mention of someone from the army and family, named Ain, who has applied to the academy. Fernan declares this confirms his suspicions and rushes off. When his assistant tries to ask something, Fernan says he'll return after a brief trip to the south. The assistant protests, noting he just made coffee, but Fernan ignores him. We learn the Imperial Academy is a sprawling domain on Bardian, an island in the Empire's inland sea, its vast grounds an artificial realm crafted by magic. In the southern region lies a wide wetland. Fernan declares today is the day he'll finally verify the prophecy's truth. The prophecy highlights 3 key points that infuriate him, all tied to his ruin and descent into poverty. He corrects himself, saying it's not just 3, then lists them clearly. First, his fall into destitution. Second, the resurgence of Solomon's 72 demons from 1,000 years ago. And third, the rise of a figure destined to save the world by battling these demons. Fernan notes that this figure, Ain, is a descendant of the Empire's founding emperor, Kinos Armen, a name every citizen knows. The House of Armen, which established the Empire and 5 surrounding kingdoms, is now, 1,000 years later, a fallen house with only its honor intact. The prophecy identifies Ain, a descendant of this once imperial family, as the protagonist. After completing the entrance exam, Ain doesn't head back but ventures to the southern wetlands, chasing a map left by the first emperor to his family. From the moment he enrolled, events have unfolded around him, detailed as if in a novel. Observing Ain's actions is the best way to confirm the prophecy's validity. Moreover, Ain is directly linked to Fernan's grim future, as he delivers an excommunication document. What's baffling is that Fernan doesn't know why Ain comes to despise him, leading to his downfall. The prophecy book is partly illegible, with unreadable sections, so Fernan can only grasp the general flow of some events, not their precise causes. The stated reason for his ruin is aligning with a demon, which seems nonsensical. Dismounting his horse, Fernan muses that the location should be nearby. Ain is searching for a hidden dungeon in the wetlands, where a sword imbued with the spirit of the Empire's first royal knight, Gardener Alvain Farson, lies dormant. Fernan remarks that if the prophecy is correct, Ain is the ideal hero to save the world from demons. If Ain weren't so talented, Fernan would have crushed him long ago, given Ain's role in his prophesied poverty. He smells blood and recalls the prophecy mentioning Ain's injury from a croaker's attack en route to the dungeon. Despite his heroic destiny, Ain's talents haven't fully awakened, and a croaker, a swamp apex predator, would be formidable. Fernan follows a blood trail to a tree, suspecting it marks the cave entrance. Everything aligns with the prophecy so far. He decides to check if Ain is inside but spots him nearby, wondering why he hasn't entered the dungeon yet and if he arrived too early. Fernan decides to act confident, declaring the area off-limits to freshmen. Ain asks if he knows him, and Fernan replies that everyone in the Empire knows him. Ain apologizes, admitting he doesn't recognize Fernan, and asks his name. Fernan introduces himself, and Ain is surprised, recognizing the name. Fernan reminds him he's a senior. Ain acknowledges this, and Fernan asks if he fought a lizard man, noting his injury. Ain corrects him, saying it was a croaker. Fernan remarks on his bad luck, as croakers are rare, and tosses him an elixir, explaining it's a top-grade potion, far better than low-quality ones. Ain addresses him as young lord, but Fernan insists on just his name. Ain complies, and Fernan says he doesn't need payment. Despite his family's fall, Ain's imperial blood suggests he won't be worthless, so Fernan calls it an investment. Ain notes that Fernan doesn't seem as money-obsessed as rumors suggest and might be a decent person, thanking him. Fernan grumbles about the waste, cursing the prophecy. He lectures Ain on his luck and advises caution on his return. Ain bows, grateful for the kindness, but Fernan reveals he didn't leave instead. He hid nearby, concealing his presence. Ain drinks the potion and enters the dungeon, with Fernan following shortly after. Inside, Fernan confirms the dungeon's reality, noting no reaction upon entry, suggesting it's already cleared. He observes numerous magic lamps, barely emanating mana, and picks one up, noting it faintly absorbs surrounding mana semi-permanent magic lamp. He wonders why Ain left such valuable items behind. Fernan reflects that Ain seemed clueless earlier, unlike the prophecy's depiction, and questions if he can trust the world's fate to him. The prophecy described Ain entering the dungeon injured, worsened by a fall at the entrance, his body battered. His low-quality potions didn't fully heal him, yet he pressed on through pain, drawn to a plain but captivating sword on an altar. When Ain grasped it, a radiant light illuminated the cavern. Upon blinking, he was no longer in the dungeon but in a secluded academy alley. Fernan notes a faint magical trace in the altar's sword mark, confirming Ain's absence and the prophecy's truth, including his own excommunication. Scratching his head, Fernan laments the prospect of becoming a beggar, calling it absurd. Ain, the prophecy's protagonist and demon-slaying hero, is also Fernan's downfall. Yet, Ain's current persona differs from the prophecy's honor-driven figure, making a careless approach risky. Fernan ponders how to handle this. His assistant, Hyde, asks what he means. Fernan describes a promising stock guaranteed to grow, asking Hyde what he'd do. Hyde says he'd invest without hesitation. Fernan asks what if the stock's personality clashes with his own. Hyde questions why that matters, recalling the Duke's saying that money can align even personalities. Fernan agrees, realizing the demons and destruction complicate things, but the principle remains: invest, risk, and reap huge rewards. Personality differences are minor compared to vast wealth. Needing more information on Ain, Fernan grabs his coat, declaring he must meet him immediately. Hyde inquires about the guest expected later, but Fernan departs without responding. Hyde remarks that he's once again engrossed in texts about the prophecy. He likely knows something. We discover that at the Academy, dormitories are allocated based on entrance exam rankings. Ranks 1 through 10 reside in the prestigious Lavaz dorm for the elite. Ranks 11 to 30 occupy the Blessed dorm for exceptional students, while those ranked below 30 are assigned to the so-called Debs dorm for the less distinguished. We encounter Gardner, or at least his ego, now housed within a sword. He's shouting, questioning how a descendant of the Armin family could end up in the Debs dorm instead of a superior one, especially at their own family's academy. It's unthinkable. If the Emperor knew, he'd rise from his tomb and wreak havoc on these demons with an axe. Ain asks why he's suddenly mentioning demons. Gardner insists that such a travesty could only occur due to demonic interference. Ain replies that it's unavoidable he's here because he's not strong enough. Gardner scoffs, declaring that no Armenian descendant could possibly be this feeble. Ain blames the first emperor, explaining that he dismantled the imperial succession system, replacing it with an election among the 7 electorates. Additionally, he donated most of their lands and wealth to the empire. Over a century, as other elector families claimed the throne, the donated territories slipped from their grasp, and the family's fortunes dwindled, even losing some secret sword techniques passed down through generations. Despite being an elector, Ain lacked proper sword training due to these circumstances. Gardner insists that Ain still possesses talent and vows to provide all possible resources to restore their family's former glory. He speculates that the late emperor foresaw this and placed Ain here for that very purpose. A knock sounds at the door, and Fernan's voice asks if Ain is inside. Gardner wonders who it might be. Ain, clueless, calls out to ask who's there. Fernan identifies himself, and Ain opens the door, asking what brings him. Fernan inquires if Ain is occupied, and Ain responds that he's free, with no pressing tasks. Fernan says that's perfect, and asks if Ain can spare a moment, noting that the area is too noisy with everyone moving in and out, chattering incessantly. He suggests they find a quieter spot. Ain asks him to wait 10 minutes, promising to come out soon. Fernan grumbles about waiting a full 10 minutes, and lectures Ain about lacking discipline. Ain corrects himself, saying he'll be out in 5 minutes. Fernan says he'll wait outside and shuts the door. Ain mutters that he won't manage that. Gardner demands to know who that was. Ain explains that it's the eldest son of the Pellenberg family. Gardner dismisses them as mere wealthy brats, questioning what makes them so special when their only asset is money and why they're ordering a royal heir around. Ain ponders why Fernan wants to meet, certain it's not about potion money, since that's an investment. Later during their meeting, Fernan notices Ain brought his sword and asks about it. Ain says it makes him feel secure, emphasizing he has no malicious intent. Fernan nods, understanding that most knights can't stand being parted from their blades, and assumes it's the one infused with Gardner's ego. Ain asks why Fernan wanted to meet, and Fernan downplays it, saying he was just thinking of grabbing dinner, and tells Ain to order anything he likes. Ain hesitates, noting the place seems pricey. Fernan insists that Ain stop refusing when a senior offers drinks. Ain agrees, saying he'll check the menu. As Ain browses it, Fernan observes him, noting that Ain appears naive and kind, but wonders how such a gentle kid transforms so drastically in the future. He asks Ain about his plans after graduation. Ain looks taken aback, and Fernan explains that students typically join the academy to build influence, but the Armin family always cited strengthening their lineage as an excuse to avoid socializing. So, it's surprising to see an Armenian enrolled now. Ain says he's tired of being mocked as a fallen imperial family, asserting that their blood remains royal, even if only in name. That's why he aims to become a royal knight and restore his family's honor. Fernan remarks that Ain's eyes shift when he speaks of his dream, showing ambition and resolve strong enough to achieve his goals, along with great pride in his lineage, meaning he's not as naive as Fernan initially thought. Fernan asks if Ain has any allergies. They engage in a brief, warm-side conversation. Later, Fernan reflects that he now understands what kind of person Ain is. He had considered sponsoring Ain but realizes it would have insulted Ain's pride, given how much he values honor, as foretold in the prophecy. For someone like Ain, a subtle push-and-pull approach is better than overt generosity. Fernan's priority is to gradually build trust and secure Ain's loyalty. When the time comes, he'll draw Ain in like a fish, using his wealth strategically to gain everything he needs. Hyde asks Fernan where he's been and whether he met with the bereaved. Fernan says no, curious why Hyde mentions the bereaved out of nowhere. Hyde reminds him that he summoned Luina Birchfa for slacking off. Fernan asks if that was today, and Hyde says he would have sent her back if he knew Fernan would be so late. He told Luina that Fernan wouldn't be long, but she left after waiting 3 hours, likely thinking Fernan deliberately snubbed her to break her spirit. Fernan shrugs it off, saying it's fine. Crushing her determination makes her easier to control, and he's invested heavily in binding the Birchfa family, so it must succeed. Suddenly, Fernan clutches his head in pain. Hyde asks if he's all right, and Fernan says he's unsure why, but his head is throbbing intensely. He notices the prophecy revealing previously unreadable parts, wondering why it's appearing now. It describes a woman with flowing brown hair and eyes like aquamarine. Only fragments describe her. Her sword is exquisitely noble and beautiful, as if alive, and she dances under the moonlight. Ain encounters her and is enthralled. Her exceptional talent rivals a royal knight's, yet she harbors malevolence. If her shackles are broken, she could soar to her full potential. The shackles, however, are the Pellenberg family, and Ain must free her from them. Fernan is stunned, wondering if this explains why Ain hates him in the future because of Luina. He mutters that things just got far more complicated. We see Luina seated, visibly irritated about Fernan standing her up yesterday. She questions why he summoned her again, wondering if he's trying to crush her spirit since she's drowning in debt. From across the room, Fernan senses her frustration. We learn that the Birchfee family traditionally held the title of Border Counts, once a mighty family guarding the Northern Empire and one of the 7 prince-electors. But massive monster waves devastated their fortress-like family, and their glory faded. Desperate for funds to rebuild, the Birchfee sold their golden patent, which granted their elector status, but it wasn't enough. The Pellenberg family head, Fernan's father, offered aid not out of pity, but as an opportunity. Lacking in swordsmanship despite their magical prowess, the Pellenbergs coveted magic swordsmen. Fernan's father blocked other nobles from supporting the Birchfee, forcing them to borrow heavily from his family. While they avoided ruin, they were burdened with crushing interest fees. A little more pressure, and they might have surrendered their magic swordsmanship. Luina, of all people, is destined to become Ain's lover. Fernan reflects that, regardless of the magic swordsmanship, since she's tied to Ain, he must ensure she doesn't despise him. He enters, noting she's early, and apologizes for yesterday, claiming he was distracted and didn't mean to forget their meeting. Luina curtly says enough, noting that the unfortunate always bear the unfairness. Fernan insists he didn't intend it, but she says if that's his stance, she understands. He stresses his sincerity, and she asks why he wanted to meet. Fernan says she already knows, and begins pondering how to win her favor. Phase 1 of his plan begins. He mentions that starting in the 2nd year, there's a joint class between the magic and night departments. She immediately refuses. He protests that he hasn't finished, asking how she knew his intent. She says it's obvious he wants her as a partner, and she'd never agree partnering with him is pointless. As the department's 2nd-ranked student, she has better options than someone ranked 10th. Fernan offers to waive all her accumulated interest if she partners with him for 3 years, on the condition that she accepts him as her sponsor. She questions why, and he explains that joint classes are crucial, worth 5 credits. She clarifies that's not her issue. He wants to be both her partner and sponsor, and he might not know she's on a scholarship. Fernan counters that she sends most of it to her family, living poorer than most commoners. Sponsoring her is purely an investment in her talent, nothing more. She notes that nobles rarely sponsor other nobles, and like Ain, she values loyalty. She wonders if he's insulting her, but he explains that unlike the Armenians, their families are directly entangled, so she'll have to accept his offer despite her reluctance. He urges her not to let pride get in the way, affirming her talent even if she resents him. Phase 2 begins. Fernan mentions seeing her recent sword dance, describing it as supremely noble and beautiful, and her eyes light up. He continues, saying it's alive and noble. She wouldn't refuse someone who recognizes her skill. She asks what he means, and he says he can't forget the day he first saw her dance. He launches into poetic praise, which she finds cringeworthy, telling him to stop. he persists, saying he hasn't found the perfect word to describe her sword dance's beauty. Embarrassed, she agrees to be his partner if he stops. His mission succeeds. Later, her maid reads the contract. 3 years of interest waivers and sponsorship, kept private, with a clause to end it upon graduation. In return, Luina must be Fernan's class partner for 3 years. Luina says the terms are too good to refuse, and he recognized her sword dance's potential. The maid asks what he saw, and Luina recounts how he called it noble, beautiful, and alive, still searching for the perfect word to describe it. The maid, furious, suspects he's trying to seduce her, noting his good looks and intense eyes. Luina denies it, but the maid insists he's using charm tactics. Luina admits the interest waiver will help her family, so she'll tolerate it. The maid notes Luina's 2nd rank versus Fernan's 10th. A knock interrupts, and the maid opens the door to hide, who says Fernan requests Luina at the training grounds immediately. The maid glares, annoyed. Luina wonders what Fernan wants at the training yard, unable to guess his intentions. In the training room, Fernan, dressed impressively and holding a staff, notes that Luina is the perennial 2nd-rank student. The top 2nd-year student, Alone Donards, has never been defeated by her, but Fernan believes she has the talent to become one of the 10 royal knights. He'll soon discover if she's a hidden gem. Luina approaches, unsure what's happening, asking what he wants. Fernan says he doesn't want her to think partnering with him offers no benefits and aims to prove he's not far behind her. She wonders if he's trying to beat her to prove himself, acknowledging that, despite being 10th, he qualified for Labatish Hall, indicating skill. Still, the gap between 2nd and 10th is clear. He agrees and suggests they begin. She grips her blade, saying if that's what he wants, he can make the first move. He exclaims joyfully as he starts channeling a spell through his staff. We see glowing circles form above her head as stones begin to materialize. He continues chanting enchantments as the rocks hurtle toward her. With a single swing, she slices them all in 2 and charges straight at Fernan. While the debris from the initial attack still falls, she surges forward, cutting through the fragments. Now nearly face to face with him, she wonders about his next move. She locks eyes on his magic circle and swings at it. In a flash, Fernan appears behind her on the opposite side of the arena, and the magic circle persists as the training grounds floor shatters. She remarks that she's quietly impressed, noting the arena is built with powerful magic that ordinary spells can't even scratch. Watching him prepare, she questions if he's been concealing his true strength all along. As rocks keep falling, a dazzling light flares before her. She declares it's impossible. Not only is he casting multiple spells at once, but he's also chaining advanced magic together. She ponders how much mana he truly possesses. This is far beyond the abilities of a 10th-ranked mage, and she realizes she completely misjudged him. At this rate, she'll lose. Her eyes glow blue, and an aura matching their hue radiates, creating a wind barrier around her. This time, Fernan is the one surprised, and he grins. Cracks spread through the training area as it begins to collapse. The rocks persist. She tightens her grip on her sword, darting through them unscathed. Leaping from stone to stone toward Fernan, she sees him calmly casting another spell. What an impressive scene. His staff then drops to the ground, and she looks furious. Stopping just short of his head, he declares his surrender. She questions if he's mocking her. He insists he's not simply out of mana. A mage can't defeat a knight without mana. She notes he doesn't seem to be pretending. He's truly drained and can't beat her now. She blocked all his attacks, so it's her victory. Yet she feels uneasy, as it doesn't feel like a win. He mentions he has something for her. Reaching into his coat, he pulls out a gift, explaining it's because she won and he heard she likes chocolate. He offers whiskey chocolate crafted by his family, adding that if she doesn't like it, he can get other kinds. If those don't suit her, he'll find whatever she enjoys. She stops drooling, demanding to know if he really investigated her. He denies going to such lengths for one person, telling her to wipe her drool. He only checked the personal details of top-ranked students. Annoyed, she calls it a background check, labeling him a creep. She sighs, saying she can't believe he's giving her chocolate for winning a duel and that she's not a kid. He says she doesn't have to take it, but she snatches it, clarifying she never refused. He chuckles, suggesting they can get along from now on. She asks why. He looks confused, and she explains that his immense mana, enough to unleash those powerful attacks, is unfathomable. So why is he only ranked 10th? He smiles, saying, "It's obvious." A merchant stays out of the spotlight. Later, his staff lies on his desk, some parts scattered. Hyde asks what happened, and why he destroyed the mana storage and amplifier. Fernan explains he dueled Luina, who was formidable. Despite his preparation, everything was wrecked. She depleted all his mana, and he still couldn't win. Hyde questions why he'd use such valuable items in a duel, and if she's worth it. Fernan calls it a future investment. Hyde asks for clarification, but Fernan says he'll explain later. Hyde wonders if it's a side effect of lightning strikes. In Fernan's mind, he reflects that it was stunning his judgment was correct. Her swordplay is swift and graceful, almost regal. He understands why his father covets their sword art. She's incredibly skilled, yet he wonders why she's never claimed the top rank. He speculates it's due to her poor equipment, ignoring Hyde entirely. Hyde asks what he'll tell the Duke, as the Birchfee secret sword art was his father's lifelong desire. Fernan admits he didn't think much at the time, but now he's a bit concerned, asking if his father might disown him. Hyde says no, he'd likely just kill him to end it. Fernan insists his father wouldn't kill his son for disrupting his plans. He decides to write to his father, vividly imagining his father's shock. Anxiety consumes him after sending the letter, though he tries to ignore it. Days later, his father responds. Reading the letter, Fernan notes it arrived faster than expected. Hyde, tearful, says, "It's finally happened." Fernan asks if there's a separate message, and Hyde, crying, says no, feeling today is his last day serving him. Fernan reassures him that this won't lead to disownment, and that excommunication would be for demonic ties, not this. His father claims he's possessed by a demon. Fernan insists he must see his father immediately to avoid any demonic entanglement, as prophesied. He can't admit to finding a prophecy book, as it doesn't physically exist and he can't prove it. Telling the truth would make his father think he's delusional or ruin the family. He needs something to offset the loss. His father notes Fernan's composure, wondering if he's on drugs or possessed by the demon slain by the first emperor. If not, he demands an explanation. Fernan says he sought a better investment in Birchfee. His father asks what could surpass the sword art, and Fernan says he can't reveal it. His father, frustrated, says this isn't a request. Fernan is risking their fortune. Fernan acknowledges this, but stands firm, confident he can yield greater profits than the sword art, if entrusted with the Birchfee matter. His father demands to know the source of his confidence. Fernan, resolute, refuses to say. His father calls it absurd, saying he wasn't raised to be reckless and that this can't be resolved with a tantrum. Fernan reluctantly uses the prophecy to strike a deal, saying he's not throwing a tantrum. In exchange for handling the Birchfee matter, he'll share exclusive information. His father asks what it is, and Fernan reveals he runs a personal intelligence group. His father doubts it surpasses their families, questioning what's worth abandoning Birchfee for. Fernan discloses an undiscovered magic crystal mine west of the Aruz Mountains in Viscount Donard's territory. His father, unaware of it, questions how Fernan found it with a mediocre intelligence group. Fernan quips that children digging in dirt sometimes find coins, and this mine could cover Birchfee's losses and Morea Mountain of wealth. Magic stones, rich in mana, are highly valuable, making them lucrative. The Aruz Mountains deposit was only briefly mentioned in the prophecy, unverified by Fernan, but it should buy time. He notes the Donard family ship sank in a typhoon, weakening their finances, which could be leveraged to secure the mine. Fernan thinks it's best to delay revealing the prophecy. His father says if true, it could offset the damage, but verification is needed, which will take time. Fernan should return to his studies and await further word. Fernan agrees, hoping he's quelled his father's anger, though it feels like he's lost a decade of life. His father calls him back, startling him. Fernan wonders if he erred. His father suggests they eat together since he's there. Fernan agrees. As he leaves, his father tells the butler he's disappointed that the Black Turtle couldn't uncover Fernan's findings. The butler apologizes, promising to review the intelligence unit. The father advises leniency and asks the butler's opinion of Fernan. The butler says he's become a respectable merchant by dealing with the Duke. The father remains skeptical about the mine's discovery, but notes they'll learn more about Fernan's Golden Pillar intelligence group, possibly specializing in ores. He recalls Fernan's love for ores, choosing earth magic despite his fire affinity. Verification is pending, but the butler suggests Fernan's network may exceed expectations. The father smiles, marveling at Fernan's extraordinary actions and growing excited. He instructs the butler to investigate Luina, curious how she influenced Fernan. The butler asks if he means they're in love. The father says investments need profit, and Fernan's actions suggest another motive, perhaps youthful love, though he suspects more. He wonders why a money-driven son chose this path. The scene shifts to Luina eating. Fernan asks if she's sure Alia Tortega paired with Carlos Denef. She confirms, saying Carlos approached Alia after her rejection. Fernan asks if Alia is still 4th ranked, and Luina says yes, having risen from 5th with remarkable progress. Fernan wonders why she'd share their partnership, as it could spark rumors. Luina says it'll come out eventually, and people claim Alia did it for money. It's expected, and she must handle it, though it's not entirely false. Fernan agrees, admitting his love for money and its limitless potential. Luina retorts, that's why he's called the money demon, another reason she dislikes him. He slides 2 items toward her, a mandrake root elixir and a voucher for high-quality equipment from his company's weapon shop. She inquires why he would help her, noting she can't repay him. He reminds her of their agreement, asking if she's forgotten the contract they signed. She retorts that, even so, providing her with gear crafted by the Golden Turtle, presumably his company's name-eyes, far too extravagant to be considered a mere gift. Fernan stiffens, and she points out that his reaction suggests he agrees it's excessive. He stammers a denial, shaking his head, but deep down, he knows she's right. Still, if this is the cost of winning her trust and avoiding a future where he's destitute, it's a small price to pay. Better yet, if she grows strong enough to battle demons alongside him, that's an even greater advantage. She insists the gift is too much, and she can't accept it. He counters that rejecting a sponsorship violates their contract and could lead to its termination. He begins explaining the penalties, and she abruptly transforms into a demon, hastily agreeing to take the equipment. He mentions they'll meet up in class, since he has work to attend to and will head there later. Yet, she remains fixated on how costly the items are, even for a sponsorship. She starts questioning whether the contract even included a penalty clause, convinced it didn't. She wonders why he'd lie and gift her such valuable items, pondering if he's truly trying to woo her and steal her magic swordsmanship, as the maid warned. She thinks to herself that he can try, but he'll never succeed. From a vantage point above, Fernan observes, noting that Ain should be at this lecture and wondering where he is. He spots him at the first lecture of the first-year night department, titled War and Real-Life Sparring. This course evaluates students' abilities through friendly duels. According to prophecy, Ain, who wields Sir Gardiner's ego sword, begins to shine and gain fame here. His journey as a hero destined to save the world starts in this moment. Someone approaches Fernan, remarking on how rare it is to see him here. Fernan greets him, addressing him as Your Majesty, and asking how he's been. The prince tells him to skip the formalities, and Fernan explains that, since this is their first meeting as sophomores, he feels obliged to be courteous. The prince asks what's happening and whether he should keep tabs on any new students. Fernan replies that he always monitors those in the rankings, then asks why the prince is here, speculating if it's to see Ain. The prince grins, saying it's only natural to be curious about Ain, a member of the former royal family, suddenly enrolling in the academy after a century of absence. We learn the prince's name is Luger Schwaben, the second prince of the current imperial family of the empire. The Schwaben family has held the throne for 3 generations since their election as the imperial family 100 years ago. Though they share origins with the Armenian family, the former and current imperial families now have a tense relationship. Luger deeply values authority and wants the Schwaben lineage to retain the throne. Ain's strong claim to legitimacy naturally makes him a concern. Luger mentions he's not the only one curious about Ain, pointing out a man named von Kalbunder. He explains that Von entered the academy as the second highest-ranking student this year and is seizing the chance to replace the fallen Armenian family as an elector. There's no other reason for Von to be fixated on Ain. Fernan muses that it's quite a coincidence, wondering if this is where the rivalry between Luger and Von begins. In every heroic saga, a protagonist must face a villain to grow. As Von stands before Luger, the prince instructs him to defeat Ain and make it clear that the past is gone. Von agrees, vowing to crush Ain and sever the Armenian sprout, establishing himself as the story's next antagonist. The referee calls for Ain and another student, Anton, to take the stage. Fernan wonders if fate has brought them all here to witness the start of Ain's journey, noting that this year promises to be intriguing and worth watching. especially since Ain is likely to be declared the victor. His performance has already begun spreading his name among the professors. Fernan ponders if this prophecy will validate his investment in Ain. The referee signals the start, and Anton charges straight at Ain. Caught slightly off guard, Ain manages to block the attack. Anton quickly follows with a strike aimed at Ain's throat, but Ain flips backward through the air, dodging it. Landing, he's breathing heavily, clearly winded from the brief clash. Luger comments that he heard the class randomly assigns sparring partners, and that Ain is unlucky, as Anton, who ranked 10th in the entrance exam, is a tough opponent for Ain, who placed 38th. He adds that being pushed back so one-sidedly is unsurprising given Ain's low rank, and, finding nothing worth watching, he prepares to leave. But something catches his eye. Ain swings his sword down toward Anton's head, the blade grazing just past his face, slicing only a bit of his clothing. Anton stares at the cut, stunned, as are Luger and Vaughn. Fernan observes that Ain was likely thrown off by Anton's aggressive opening, and his obvious confusion reveals his inexperience. Yet, once he regains composure, the tide turns. Anton is in disbelief that he nearly lost to someone ranked 38th. He unleashes his aura, which surges through the arena. Other students comment that Ain is performing better than expected, but Anton will still win. Luger remarks that for a 38th ranked student to force the 10th ranked to use aura, Ain is at least living up to his family's name. He adds that for someone with no talent, Ain is only slightly better than Anton, who remains dominant. Fernan questions what Luger means by no talent, as that's not Ain's weakness. The only thing holding Ain back from standing out is an unsupportive environment. Ain and Anton exchange blows, moving swiftly across the arena. Fernan declares that Ain is special, chosen by prophecy as this world's protagonist. Ain's eyes glow, catching Anton off guard. Fernan continues, saying there's a reason Ain is destined to shine. Everyone watches as Ain leaps behind Anton, sending his sword flying. Anton collapses to his knees, defeated. The referee declares Ain the winner, and he raises his sword triumphantly. The crowd roars his name, just as the prophecy foretold. Fernan, grinning like a schemer, says he can hear the profits rolling in. He just needs to nurture Ain and make him an ally. Next, he plans to win over Luina. Back in Fernan's class, students whisper about why Luina would team up with him. Fernan notes they're drawing too much attention, and she replies that the gossip will die down eventually. He asks if she's used the elixir and switched to the new equipment, and whether she likes them. She glances at him, inwardly thrilled after equipping the new sword and feeling a powerful surge, but she downplays it, saying it's not bad. A woman then asks if everyone is present. As she steps to the front, we see the referee from Ain's fight. She introduces herself as Professor Rosalia from the Magic Department and presents the referee, Professor Grad, from the Night Department. They announce a joint class between the Magic and Night Departments, and the lecture begins. It resembles a scenario from a dungeon defense game. Rosalia explains that they've all received maps from the assistants. The first lecture is a practical exercise, as real practice is the best way to confirm learning. They'll now be thrown into a field exercise. The map Grad distributed marks a destination they must reach in exactly 4 hours, not too early or too late, arriving precisely at 2 p.m. He asks if there are questions. A student inquires if this will affect their grades, and Grad confirms it's as significant as midterms and finals. Another asks about student conflicts. Rosalia says capturing others earns bonus points and, with no further questions, they proceed. Some students tap their spears on the ground, and a bright light engulfs the room, teleporting them to a forest. Fernan and Luina stand side by side, and he scans their surroundings, wondering where they are. She says they need to figure that out, but first, they should check the map. They immediately encounter two students, Jane Hux and Ned Palin. Luina asks what to do, and Fernan remarks that his usual self would dismiss these low-ranked scraps and walk away. But he defers to her decision. She says that's good, as she's after bonus points. They'll deal with these two, then study the map. Fernan suggests using magic to make things easier, and she asks if there's a spell to pinpoint their location. He explains they can climb to high ground and survey the area. She questions how that's different from using the map. Ned tells Jane it's time to flee, but Luina charges in, declaring her need for bonus points and warning them not to try escaping. As she strikes at them, a magic circle appears, blocking her attack, likely saving them. The spell from a scroll fades. Fernan notes that the maps from the assistants included a defensive spell. Luina grumbles that, had she known, she wouldn't have held back. Fernan points out that she still left them both in tears. Their card vanishes, and Grad announces another team's elimination, noting that students are dropping faster than expected. Rosalia adds that, intriguingly, no one has been eliminated monstersomely by student conflicts. Grad asks if she's watching any particular pair. She says, based on grades, Ludger and Alone are notable, as are Carlos and Alia, but Luina and Fernan intrigue her most. Grad asks if it's because they're causing a stir. He notes Luina is at a disadvantage paired with Fernan and wonders if it's about money, though Fernan doesn't seem to care about grades. Rosalia suggests there's another reason for their partnership, unrelated to grades. Grad asks what it could be, and she explains that Fernan, despite always ranking 10th, has perfect written exams but loses just enough points in practicals to stay there. It's unusual to consistently hit 10th place exactly. She suspects he avoids standing out. Grad asks if he's hiding his skills, and she confirms, mentioning the recent destruction of the training grounds which professors investigated. It was Fernan and Luina's doing. Grad is shocked, saying no student could have that power, but Rosalia says that's why she's curious not just about Fernan's true skills, but why he suddenly stopped hiding them. Fernan stands on a stone pillar studying the map, while Luina defeats opponents below. He determines they're in the western mountainous region. She shouts that she's done and asks if he's ready to move. He confirms they need to head northeast, noting several people en route. She's thrilled, and he asks if they should find the next pair immediately. She agrees, eager for more bonus points. An attack comes, but Fernan blocks it instantly with earth magic. A voice says they finally met. It's Carlos and Alia. Luina is frustrated, questioning where the honor lies in launching a sudden ambush. Carlos retorts, asking how there's any shame in a fight and whether they've forgotten the professor's words. He insists they'll need to return to the academy, and there's no chance he'd let them off so easily after crossing paths like this. Luina wonders why Carlos is so irritated, and Fernan remarks that Carlos was the one persistently asking her to team up, so his ego is likely bruised because she was taken from him. He adds that holding a grudge over something so trivial is immature. Carlos, shocked that they're brushing him off, hears Luina declare that she belongs to no one and thus can't be stolen. They continue to ignore him. Fernan comments that for someone so physically impressive, Carlos's behavior is surprisingly petty. Flustered, Carlos snaps, "Just face me already." Fernan acknowledges that a confrontation is inevitable. Luina, however, sees an advantage, noting they could earn extra points for defeating a high-ranking duo. But since they're top tier, Fernan can't just stand by this time. He assures her he understands and will back her up so she can go all out. Skeptical, Luina tells him not to overdo it, as they haven't even discussed their combined tactics yet. She questions what kind of assistance he plans to provide. He replies that as a team, fighting apart is pointless, urging her not to fret. As rocks start forming around them, they create a barrier, shaping into a dome enclosing all four. Fernan urges her to trust him. The scene shifts to Rosalia, looking stunned as she notices a major skirmish unfolding in the western mountain area. Grad wonders if students are already battling monsters. Rosalia clarifies that monsters don't appear here and suggests they investigate closer. Grad notes it's the two from the pair she mentioned earlier. She finds it thrilling and Grad agrees, eager to witness Fernan's true abilities. Inside the dome, Fernan formed, Luina and Alia charge at each other, while Fernan and Carlos do the same. Luina feels her body unusually light, wondering if Fernan used support magic and when he managed it. As he multitasks with spells, she's astonished at his efficiency. He winks, boasting about his skill, and she grimaces, muttering, "What's wrong with this guy?" She parries Alia's strike, reminding herself to stay focused and act fast. With a powerful swing, she cracks the ground beneath them. Alia struggles to resist, and Carlos moves to assist her. He unleashes a lightning bolt that separates Luina from Alia, the electricity coursing up her sword and enveloping her, leaving her immobilized. Alia taunts that she's trapped now, but Luina insists it's nothing, straining to break free. Alia, denying her the chance, leaps off the ground, preparing her attack. She swings down, shattering a rock that crumbles to the floor. Alia is stunned, and Carlos demands to know what just happened. Luina, now teleported beside Fernan, also asks what occurred. He explains it's a new magic his family developed, swapping objects of equal weight, which he learned quickly for its utility. She questions how he knows her weight, and he admits it was in the student records. Dodging Carlos's attack, she lifts Fernan, noting the rock looks heavy but isn't, and vows to destroy the records herself. He pleads for gentleness as she tosses him around, and she snaps that he needs to move carefully since he just saved her. She says she'll handle Alia, so he must focus on countering Carlos. Fernan, embarrassed about rolling on the ground constantly, spots a massive magic circle above and notes he was waiting for Carlos to use it. Carlos's specialty is summoning lightning that rains down relentlessly, a colossal light pillar formed by dozens of simultaneous strikes. His multitasking yields destructive power far beyond a typical student, making him the department's top rank. Fernan reveals he researched how to counter it and pulls out 2 orbs, curious about their effectiveness. Coating them with aura, he makes them float as he and Carlos engage in a magical duel. Carlos launches his attack, and as Fernan is struck, Luina shouts his name. As the smoke clears, Fernan stands unscathed. Carlos, incredulous, demands to know how. Fernan explains the orbs are mana-absorbing storage devices, which he tosses to the ground. He modified them, and though costly and challenging to create, they proved effective. With refinement and mass production, they could be marketable. Carlos accuses him of cheating with an artifact. Fernan counters, echoing Carlos's earlier words about battle being real practice, leaving Carlos flustered. Fernan signals Luina to take her turn. As Carlos turns, realizing he forgot about her, Fernan urges her to end the fight. Aura glows from her eyes as she swings upward, shattering Alia's protective spell. Elsewhere, Luger and someone, presumed to be alone, observe. Luger notes only 2 of the 4 remain, and alone deduces there's a dropout. Assistants instantly teleport dropouts to the destination. No student mage can withstand Carlos's lightning, so Fernan and Luina seem unlucky. Luger corrects him, revealing Fernan and Luina are the ones who prevailed. Fernan, who avoids the spotlight, has concealed his true strength, but paired with Luina, who's driven by grades, he can't hide his power. To match her pace, his rank will rise, and his circle filled with those eager to topple him if he slips won't let a rival go unchallenged. Behind them, a group of students follows Luger's lead, trusting he'll guide them safely to the destination for a high test rank. However, they must first eliminate a specific pair, none other than Fernan and Luina, whom they aim to capture.
The scene shifts to a grotesque ogre being sliced in half. Luina remarks that they're nearing their destination, with monsters appearing in swarm. It seems they'll reach the goal on schedule, possibly even taking first place at this pace. As Fernan drains the creature's blood, Luina questions if it's truly necessary. He explains that troll blood is a vital component for potions. She acknowledges this but points out that, given his wealth, it's practically trivial. He counters that every bit of money counts, no matter how small. She retorts that this is why people call him the money demon. He replies that his wealth allowed him to recruit her, making it a worthwhile investment. She urges him to hurry up so they can move on. He asks how many monsters they've defeated, unsure if it's 7 or 8. She clarifies it's 8 pairs, expecting a hefty bonus. He teases that she's obsessed with scores, to which she snaps back that it's better than being fixated on money. Besides, she has a compelling reason to be the top student. Suddenly, they both sense danger. He notes there are at least 20 enemies, likely targeting them as they leap from the sky. Instantly surrounded, they fend off the attacks. One enemy charges at Luina's none other than Alone, catching her off guard. She blocks his strike, but its force sends them both reeling backward. They recover, charging at each other again, trading blows while their swords clash, auras flaring. Locked in a stalemate, Luger seizes the moment to float upward, preparing a fire spell. But Fernan, noticing this, dashes between Luina and Alone, interrupting their duel. Luger grins as Fernan counters his spell with a barrage of rocks. Their clash triggers a massive explosion, forcing the students to brace themselves. Luger remarks that he planned to stay out of it, but Fernan wiped out half his pursuers in an instant, urging him to ease up. Fernan admits he's aiming for first place this time. Luger insists that won't happen and suggests settling things peacefully. With only an hour left in the test, fighting now would prevent anyone from reaching the goal. He proposes that he and Alone take second, a win-win for all. Fernan considers it, but Luina declares she'd rather lose fighting than surrender first place without a struggle. Fernan acknowledges her resolve, and Luger laughs, saying negotiations failed, and he's eager to see their skills. His group prepares to fight, but Fernan suggests waiting for another time. Luger is confused, but it's too late. A magical circle forms beneath them, and the ground collapses into a massive trap. As it engulfs them, Alone shouts for everyone to run, but the trap seals them inside. Fernan asks Luina if she's ready to move on. Stunned, she says he should have used that trick earlier. He admits it's draining and won't hold long. The scene jumps to post-exam, where Grad praises everyone's efforts and announces the ranking. Fernan and Luina take first, and she beams with joy. Luga and Alone secure second. Fernan remarks that they actually pulled it off. Luina admits they're skilled, but didn't expect to beat Alone, thinking they'd lose. Fernan insists first place is first place, regardless of who they defeated. Luina agrees, thrilled to place first for the first time. Grad concludes the test, instructing everyone to stay close and not wander before returning to the academy. Luina asks Fernan if he knows about the new student Ain't. He says everyone does, and she reveals she met him the previous night. Surprised, Fernan learns she encountered him during training, describing it as an awkward moment, similar to when he secretly watched her sword dance. Ferran's head throbs, and he clutches it. Luina asks what's wrong, but he's experiencing another prophecy, revealing a hidden text fragment. Ain't asks Luina to be his knight, but she refuses. The sky turns blood red, shrouded in thick miasma, with a monstrous evil threatening Ain't. Luina stands between them, declaring that she once declined to be his knight but now accepts, understanding his purpose. She charges at the demon, Andromaeus, her brilliant blue aura shining. Fernan, confused by the shifting prophecy, sees Luina waking in a hospital bed, injured. Ain't, relieved, cries that she nearly died for him, blaming wealthy families for targeting hers, causing their plight. Fernan grows frustrated that these visions persist. Luina calls his name, snapping him out of it, concerned as he collapses. He insists he's fine, confused by his fainting. Rosalia suggests the infirmary, and Grad speculates he overexerted his powers. Fernan wonders if this is when Ain't began seeing him as an enemy. He questions why another prophecy appeared, centered on Luina, and if it foretells near-future events involving Andromaeus, one of the 72 demons. Later, as Fernan approaches the carriage, Hyde congratulates him on first place. Exhausted, Fernan says he's drained. Hyde suggests sleep, promising to wake him at the dorms. As they depart, Fernan thinks of Andromaeus, the 72nd Demon Lord, depicted as a man with a snake around his arm. With demons gone for 1,000 years since the first Emperor's victory, information is scarce, and their existence is considered mythical. Fernan believes Ain't will handle them, but worries about Luina's injury in the prophecy. He debates telling her but doubts she'll believe him. Earlier, he tested the waters, asking if she believes in demons. She affirmed, citing the Empire's history, but when he suggested demons still exist, she worried he'd hit his head, dismissing him as irrational. He thinks if he finds demonic evidence, he could convince her. Fernan recalls that in 1 month, during a training match, Ain't defeats Von, the second-ranked student, becoming unmatched at the academy. Von loses everything: reputation, honor, and backing, and gets possessed by a demon, marking their first indirect appearance. Fernan sees this as a chance to persuade others with evidence, but the prophecy's details are blurred, leaving when, where, and how unclear. He wonders if clarity requires a condition or time. Frustrated, he mutters that it's quietly infuriating. The scene shifts to Ain't praising Fernan, noting that even without military rights, a Burv remains a Burr. Gardner credits Ferran's Burv heritage for his victory. Ain't notes Gardner favors Burvs but despises the Pellenbergs, who are now valued more. Gardner calls it the end of days, saying he only allied with Pellenbergs for war funds 1,000 years ago. He plans to ask Fernan for money, citing his worn equipment. Ain't questions the sudden request, but Gardner insists Ferran's kindness is a ploy to connect with his family, typical of Pellenbergs. Ain't doubts Ferran has ulterior motives, recalling how Ferran gave him a potion when injured, showing genuine concern. Asking for money would be dishonorable, as trust isn't bought. Gardner, angry, argues that even the Emperor valued wealth and accuses Ain't of being swayed by a meal. He urges Ain't to ask Ferran for money, but Ain't can't meet him. Hyde explains Ferran's busy managing his family's guild alongside studies. Ain't, disappointed, admits he disturbed Ferran. Gardner finds it odd for a Pellenberg to act this way. Ferran, surprised Ain't reached out first, expected less tempting bait. He sent Ain't away, sensing his visit wasn't voluntary. Hyde questions sending him back, but Ferran finds Ain't's quick approach suspicious, given many seek Pellenbergs for similar reasons. He plans to build trust before reeling Ain't in, noting his talent's value. Hyde warns that rejecting him risks losing him. Ferran orders elixirs from the family warehouse, despite their cost, believing money solves everything. Later, at the dorm, Gardner asks Ain't why he met Pellenberg's butler again. Ain't reveals he received a letter and a box. Ferran explains it contains an elixir, urging acceptance. Gardner, offended, questions if Ferran thinks he's above the Imperial family. Ain't, curious, discovers it's a Saint Bird's heart, astonishing Gardner, who recognizes its value. The holy bird, a revered creature, commands the power of light. This potion is ideal for his sword technique, which harnesses radiant energy. That boy is truly wealthy in every sense, and though they didn't gain any riches, it was still worthwhile that he visited him. Arno, overwhelmed with emotion, weeps, saying he can't fathom why someone would value a nobody like him, vowing to train harder to meet those expectations. Gardner tries to reassure him that's not the point. The scene shifts to a later time, where Fernan inquires about the outcome. Hyde reports that Ain't overcame Von, noting that Von's swordsmanship was superior, but Ain't's aura was overpowering. Fernan mentions the prophecy predicted a close victory, and suggests the potion likely played a role. Hyde questions if the potion was the key to Ain't's win, and Fernan muses that it probably had some influence. Hyde remarks that it sounds like Fernan believes Ain't could have won without it. Fernan replies that no one can know for certain. As foretold, Ain't's victory signals that Von will soon be overtaken by a demon, presenting a prime chance to uncover evidence of demon's existence. Fernan instructs Hyde to monitor Von closely for now. Hyde, puzzled, asks if he means Von specifically, and Fernan confirms, stressing they don't know when the demon might approach him. They must track everyone Von interacts with and record their conversations. Hyde wonders why the focus is on Von rather than Ain't, but Fernan insists on gathering all possible information. He begins reviewing daily logs, and time passes swiftly. Fernan carries on with his routine attending classes and the like. 2 weeks have passed since he started observing Von, yet nothing unusual has occurred. This feels wrong. Something significant should be imminent. Fernan wonders if Hyde is slacking or if the prophecy's claim about Von's demonic possession is false. The demon is the prophecy's crux. If it's inaccurate, he might need to question its entire validity. After Ain't defeated Von, they cross paths again during the midterm exam, where Von charges at him. The outcome, however, is predetermined. Von won't lose to the same foe twice. Yet Ain't, trained by Gardner, dominates even more decisively than before. Ain't leaves him behind, unaware that a demonic force is starting to seep into Von's body and mind, consuming him. Fernan jolts awake in bed, head throbbing, exclaiming he can't believe he dozed off. It's already morning. He's now seeing prophecies in his dreams, but they've revealed the precise moment of Von's possession after his midterm loss, which happens to be today. As the prophecy floods his mind, Hyde enters, noting Fernan's early rise and suggesting breakfast. But he's curious about what Fernan's up to, seeing Mjolnir and Link's shield on the table. Fernan says the timing is perfect, heading to observe the first-year Night Department's midterm exam and needs an escort. Hyde mentions he's been called by the Duke and can only go later. Fernan acknowledges this and says he'll take someone else. Hyde teases that Fernan has no friends at the Academy, but Fernan, irritated, retorts that he do someone he paid for. Luina, confused, asks why he needs an escort to collect potions during the exam period. Fernan explains the potion's effect will wane if delayed, so they must go now. She protests, citing her study commitments, but he offers to waive her debt's interest for months, even post-graduation. She instantly agrees, asking where they're headed. He says the Northern Mountain region, which she notes is the first year's midterm exam site, warning that other year students entering could face discipline for rule-breaking. Fernan claims money can solve anything. She asks if he bribed someone, guessing it was Grad, and calls him shameless. Fernan admits he likes Grad's flexibility. Luina says she's returning to the dorms, and Fernan, surprised, assures her they won't get caught, questioning if she's a knight who breaks promises. She clarifies she forgot her sword. Realizing he overreacted, Fernan tells her to grab it quickly. Now, watching the duels, he stresses they must conceal their presence to avoid detection by professors or assistants. Though he bribed Professor Grad, openly roaming would cause issues. Luina points out he knows this is wrong, making his actions worse. Fernan calls her a good kid, advising her to stay that way, and checks the map, noting Ain't is in the second department, close to Von, ranked third. They may have already clashed, so they must hurry. Luina notes the map belongs to a professor, and possessing it violates rules, wondering how much Fernan paid. He tells her to follow quietly. A piercing scream echoes, and Luina suggests it's a monster. Fernan realizes this is bad. Hearing groans, Luina says it's from the first year's area and rushes to investigate. Fernan warns her it's dangerous alone, chasing after her and calling her name. She reports someone was attacked by a monster but is unharmed due to the map's defensive magic, though something feels off. Monsters here aren't usually this aggressive. Fernan notes it began sooner than expected, and he hasn't checked Von's condition. More screams ring out, and Luina, alarmed, wonders what's happening as attacks ravage the forest ahead, destroying everything. Noticing heavy footsteps, she spots a troll charging at her. She swiftly cuts off its arm, but as it falls, the troll turns and charges again. Luina questions why it's unfazed by losing an arm. Fernan intervenes, hurling a rock through its chest. Pulling more rocks from the ground, he launches them at the troll's back, but it persists. Luina leaps back onto a tree, using it to propel herself behind Fernan, asking what's happening. He explains the troll is berserk, unable to feel pain, and obsessed with killing. The only way to stop it is to sever its head. Luina wonders why it turned berserk, recalling the prophecy tied it to a demon. While professors and instructors handle the chaos, Von, empowered by demonic energy, attacks Ain't. Struggling against an overwhelming enemy, Ain't finally awakens. Fernan laughs, and Luina, baffled, asks why he's laughing in such a dire situation. He prepares a spell, saying they must focus on the troll. The scene shifts to Von, lamenting his repeated loss. Ain't walks away, and Von shouts, demanding where he's going, insisting the fight isn't over. Ain't declares the match decided Von's loss. The words echo in Von's mind, fueling his desperation to win, burdened by failing his prince and family's expectations, fearing he'll lose his heir status. Determined, he charges at Ain't, a red aura emanating. Ain't counters with a flurry of strikes, defeating him in one move. Gardner questions why Von keeps challenging Ain't, calling him weak and lacking chivalry, suggesting Ain't kill him. Ain't refuses, noting it's just an exam, and leaves Von for the instructors to handle. Back with Fernan, they defeat the troll. He remarks it wasn't as tough as expected. Luina urges abandoning the potion and leaving the area to the professors. Fernan refuses, insisting they cut through the monster horde westward. Luina questions his sanity, but he points out she killed a berserk monster, proving they're not invincible. She asks if he foresaw this, needing an escort for this reason. Fernan denies it, and she argues the potion isn't worth his life. He retorts that money is everything, and runs off. Luina, incredulous, follows. They reach the spot, and she confirms it's where the potion is. Fernan sees Von on the ground, realizing he's too late since Ain't's fight ended. Luina spots Von, urging they help, but Fernan warns her to stay back. She's confused, noting Von's skill and wondering who defeated him, suggesting he fainted in battle and needs aid. Fernan insists she retreat immediately. She protests, saying a berserk monster could kill Von if left there, and suggests hiding him. As Von rises, Luina senses his shadow and a strange aura, stepping back. She calls to him, unsure if it's truly Von. Fernan confirms it's demonic energy. Von's eyes burn with rage, fully possessed. Fernan notes a discrepant scythe prophecy said demonized Von would target Ain't, but now the target has shifted. Luina asks how Fernan knows a demon has taken Von's body, but he's transfixed, muttering Von's lost his mind. Luina says they must subdue him. Fernan, placing a hand on her shoulder, tells her to hold out for 10 minutes. She turns, but he's gone, and Von leaps to attack. She calls to him, trying to snap him out of it, but he roars, knocking her sword away. She regains her stance, pushing back, but feels overwhelmed by his strength. Releasing her aura, she sends him flying, then lands a punch to his chest, cracking the ground. She pleads for him to snap out of it, but his eyes remain vacant. He swings again, but she dodges by leaping up. His demonic aura intensifies, and she matches it with her elegant aura. They clash mid-air, but Von's power dominates. Luina, stepping back, notes her aura is draining faster due to his demonic energy, unsure what to do. Spotting Fernan, she asks why he took so long. He waves her over as Von screams at him. Seizing the distraction, Luina leaps off Von's head, and they flee. She demands why Fernan abandoned her. He explains he set a trap to subdue Von, who's too strong to fight directly. As Von steps forward, the ground cracks, lifted by a magic circle that unleashes fire magic, slamming him down. Luina worries it's excessive, fearing Von's death. Fernan assures her it'll only enrage him further, as Von emits a darker aura. Luina, after fighting him, starts to speak, but Fernan interrupts, pulling out a wand and magic gem. Chanting, he envelops Von in flames, summoning a massive fire pillar that scorches him. Von collapses, unconscious. Fernan declares the operation a success, calling it tense. Luina questions his definition of success, noting the costly items used, and wondering if he regrets the expense. He insists they are, but circumstances left no choice. She retorts that teamwork could have brought him down with all they had. He snaps, asking what she's rambling about. Clearly, he's under demonic influence, radiating wild surges of energy. She remarks that he has the aura to shatter the world, yet his core remains tied to Von. Fernan recalls that A was destined to face trials before his awakening, and a grim realization hits he sees his error. He admits it's true that A will rise as the world's savior, but as a first year, his powers remain dormant. Her strength surpasses his currently. While he's marginally stronger than Von, she outclasses him by far. At this moment, he's stunned by his colossal mistake. So obsessed with the term demon, he overlooked what truly mattered, losing both a costly scroll and a priceless artifact. She slaps him, urging him to pull himself together, noting the haze in his eyes and asking if he's all right. Von staggers to his feet, and Fernan mutters about the staggering cost of it all. Von glares at them and lunges toward Luina with a shout. Fernan lands a solid punch to his face, demanding he consider the fortune wasted on him, and Von collapses, out cold. Luina questions why he didn't just do that from the start if he had the power, but Fernan's just furious about the money spent. Later, Von asks if that's really him, insisting it can't be true. Fernan explains the recording sphere captures scenes exactly as they happened, with no way to fake it. Von claims he recalls nothing after blacking out from his fight. Fernan says that's precisely why he's patiently clarifying it now. After losing his bout with A demon possessed him and he attacked them. Von protests he's never even encountered a demon, so why are they so certain he was possessed? Fernan points out that Von saw the recording sphere he was struck head-on by a bomb he triggered, then riddled with dozens of magic arrows, and a column of hellfire consumed him entirely. His survival through that ordeal proves demonic energy shielded his body. Von concedes it's miraculous he's alive. Fernan adds that he burned through many resources to stop Von's demonized state. Von offers to repay the cost of the artifacts used. Fernan counters that it's not just about artifactious mental anguish is immense, launching into a dramatic rant. Von, exasperated, asks what he can do to make amends. Fernan holds up a slave contract, saying it's simple. Sign this, and it's all forgiven. Von balks, pointing out it's literally a slave contract with harsh terms. Fernan accuses him of ungratefulness, saying he's trying to settle this discreetly for Von's sake. Otherwise, he'll have to follow protocol and take the recording to the Inquisitors. Von looks shocked as we learn the Inquisitors, an organization under the Emperor, exists to hunt and eradicate demons in the name of their grand cause. Once wielding immense power, they've faded into a ceremonial group over 1,000 years as demons became a distant memory. Fernan warns that the Inquisitors are eager for a chance to reclaim relevance and would leap at this recording. Von insists he has no ties to demons. Fernan counters that, as someone linked to a demon, Von faces expulsion from the Academy, and wonders what his father would think of a son who bargained his soul to a demon perhaps disowning him. Von caves instantly, signing the contract and calling Fernan master, while pledging his service. Luina questions if it's wise to handle this privately, suggesting they inform the professors. Fernan insists it's not the time, as they don't know if Von willingly became a demon, was manipulated, or why it happened. If someone controlled him, it implies a demon conspirator within the Academy. Publicizing this could make the culprit go underground, complicating their search. She deduces he plans to investigate further, but wonders why anyone would target Academy students. Fernan speculates that the Academy gathers the Empire's brightest talents. Furious, she declares this tantamount to sabotaging the Empire's future and vows to help eradicate demons whenever needed. Fernan grins, noting he won't have to offer her interest-free deals anymore, and she'll later realize how reckless her promise was. Post-exam, students crowd around a board, discussing how all professors and assistants were deployed to quell a monster rampage, halting the Night Department's exam midway. The midterm itself couldn't be cancelled, so practical exams were swapped for written ones. Students groan. This is the worst. Since the Academy prioritizes practical skills over written tests, those focused on hands-on training, like A, face a heavy burden. Gardner remarks it's odd no matter how he thinks about it. A asks what he means. Gardner explains the earlier monster rampage reeked of demonic energy, yet no demon appeared. A suggests it might not be demonic then. Gardner insists it's impossible, having warned A repeatedly that demons will resurface. That's why the first emperor stationed him here, and demons always target A. A, surprised, asks why. Gardner questions if he truly doesn't know it's because the name, Armenian, is a deep-seated enemy to demon. Without the Armenians, demons would have ruled the world. Now, they'll aim to erase the Armenian bloodline first, so A must stay vigilant and heed his guidance. A feels uneasy, realizing he's the demon's target. Meanwhile, in Fernan's dorm he screams, clutching his head, saying it feels like it's splitting. Hyde asks what's wrong. Face down on his desk, Fernan reads a new prophecy. The first-year mandatory field survival skills course follows the midterms. Believing a spiritual herb from the former emperor awaits, A takes the bait. Entering a cave alone he finds it, but a spiritual beast guards it. Gardner warns it's too strong and urges retreat, yet they defeat it. When the beast dies, the area behind it collapses, revealing Methriel through the gap. A and Gardner grow ecstatic, learning Methriel is a metal blessed by mana, the same material as Gardner's blade, which houses his soul. Fernan, stunned by the prophecy, vows to claim this soul-holding metal no matter what. Elsewhere, Luina munches on chocolate, noting last time it was a spiritual potion, now a spiritual herb. Fernan admits he lied before, but insists this is real. She's shocked he'd confess to lying so easily. The survival training means skipping a week of classes. He claims he's arranged to cover missed lessons, promising to handle everything if she joins. She refuses, and even his offer to waive interest doesn't sway her she won't miss classes. Incredulous he'd skip a week for a herb. He shrugs, saying he'll ask someone else. Someone enters, greeting Fernan with, "May Mana's blessing be with you today," hands clasped. Luina recognizes Jace Vines. He laughs, surprised Fernan isn't alone, and greets her with the same mana blessing, asking if he can call her sister. Fernan asks how Academy life treats him. Jace, a first year, says there's much to learn. Luina, puzzled, asks if they're close. Fernan notes her surprise, and Jace says it's natural. She insists it's not, pointing out Jace's role as the Dragon God Church's saint, revered by all, and sees no reason for him to associate with a money-obsessed schemer like Fernan. Jace chuckles, explaining that non-mages like her might not know the Dragon God Church, originally worshipping the ancient dragon who gifted magic, now reveres mana itself. Most followers are mages, making it a powerful mage organization. To become an archmage, one needs the church pope's approval, showing their authority. Luina, exasperated by the law, demands what this has to do with Fernan. Jace explains the church requires vast funding, and Fernan's family, the Pellenbergs, is its biggest backer, funneling magical items through their merchant guild. The church and Pellenbergs are deeply entwined. Jace quips, "A rich man is your elder." Fernan notes he's technically older. Luina scoffs, calling Jace a spoiled rich brat, not a saint. Jace fake cries, saying, "That hurts," then laughs it off, admitting he was joking. She grasps their connection and excuses herself. Jace urges her to stay, but she refuses to get involved, leaving upset. He tells her to return if she changes her mind. Jace asks Fernan why he was summoned. Fernan reveals they'll hunt spiritual herbs during the first-year field survival training and needs help. Jace finds it tempting, and Fernan teases if he'd steal it. Jace denies it, valuing their bond, but questions why it must be during training his skills could let them sneak in early. Fernan says he would've, but the herb's exact location eludes him. The prophecy suggests it's near one of 7 lakes in the southern forest, where training occurs. He's been channeling mana into the lake beds to find a mana vein, but no mithril yet. The cave is magically hidden, requiring A to lead them. Jace notes, non-participants can't enter the training area, and sneaking past crowds is tricky. Fernan reveals he's signed up as a teaching assistant for the first-year training. Jace is impressed, as second years rarely qualify, but Fernan secured permission from Rosalia, bending no rules. Jace calls him a true merchant. Fernan asks if he's in. Jace agrees, but only for a hefty payment, holding a contract. At the survival training, students are ready. Gardner reviews the plan with A. The herb is at Lake Farden in the west, and they must make it seem accidental to avoid suspicion, wandering initially. Gardner notices A's distraction, asking if he's listening. Points out Fernan assisting the training. Gardner doubts he'd do it without Prophet. Waves assuming Fernan wants bonus points, but Grant, another assistant, shouts over him, announcing training starts in 30 minutes, urging everyone to their positions. Laments not greeting Fernan. Gardner questions what he sees in that rich brat. Later, Jace shows Fernan a doll dressed like him, requesting blood and mana. It transforms into a convincing clone. Jace, top of his class, used this spell to sneak past church officials, though it only fools the Pope briefly. Fernan's impressed it can trick a legendary mage temporarily, calling Jace a genius who'll aid A in the future. Oddly, the prophecy omits Jace, despite his talent and dragon god church ties, which loathe demons due to a demon's claim that magic stems from them, not dragons are blasphemy, that turned the church into a demon-hunting cult. Fernan wonders why Jace isn't A's ally in the prophecy, and considers investing in that outcome. Leaving, he counts on Jace, who waves goodbye. Fernan follows A toward Lake Farden, confirming it's the only western lake. He taps an earpiece, signaling someone it's Von, using a magic device. A spots him, asking why he's here, noting Von can't win. Von, nervous, admits it, but refuses to look weak. A flashback shows Fernan ordering Von to stick close, threatening a harder life if he doesn't. Von agrees reluctantly. Back in the present, taunts if 2 losses weren't enough. Von insists it doesn't matter, his reputation's ruined, and he'll fight to reclaim honor, releasing his aura. Gardner praises Von's persistence, calling him a splendid knight and urging A to accept the challenge. A sighs, noting training rules ban participant clashes. Embarrassed, Von claims he fights only for honor. Gardner insists rules don't matter to a knight seeking honor, egging A on. Fernan watches, pleased, urging Von to stall as he heads to Lake Farden. At the lake, Fernan notes no one's around, and a barrier prevents noise leakage. He aims to dig for mithril before A arrives, using a new speller, Massive Summoning Circle. He calls it a fusion of magical techniques and merchant wealth, summoning a golem he names James. Thrilled, he orders James to find the mithril. Back with A, Von blocks his path, demanding a fight. Clinging to A's leg, Von begs him to engage. A, annoyed, asks how long this will take. Gardner scolds A for ignoring a knight's plea, unbecoming of an Armenian descendant. A insists rules prohibit fighting, and notes the cave's hidden nature only, those seeking it find it. Gardner agrees it's guarded to prevent theft. Fernan senses more than herbs in the cave. A and Gardner spot the herbs below, ecstatic. Deep inside, Fernan and James dig frantically, uncovering the Methriel. A, spotting the herb, worries about the guarding sea dragon. Gardner, unprepared for such a beast, urges retreat, warning A's outmatched. A, confident, thinks he can fight. The ground shakes from Fernan's mining, dislodging rubble onto the dragon, waking it. It roars, rising. Gardner warns it's too late to flee, and A, staring up, asks how they'll handle it now.
As a lone figure faces off against a gigantic, serpentine monster, he finds himself in a desperate battle. The beast, a massive dragon, speaks to him, saying, "You're no match for it. You should just run away." The dragon's voice is full of intimidation, and it lets out a loud, terrifying roar that shakes the ground. The man, Iaren, however, refuses to give up. He pulls out his sword, and with a burst of determination, he shouts, "I might as well try to take it down." A small, worried, blue flame spirit floats beside him, clearly concerned for his well-being. The dragon is furious. "Why are you unsheathing your sword? I said to give up." The dragon roars again, and Iaren, in a panicked voice, yells at his spirit companion, "Run! Don't look back and just run." The spirit, however, replies with a sense of dread, "I feel like it's a bit too late to run now." As if to prove the spirit right, the dragon's body whips out and strikes Iaren with immense force, sending him flying. He hits the water below with a pained grunt, and his hand clutches a rocky surface, pulling himself up. He is bruised and exhausted, but he is still alive. He looks at his companion and says, "That was close." Huff. 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 His companion, however, is not amused. "That's why I told you to run," the spirit replies, its voice full of frustration. Iaren tries to justify his decision. "I wanted to, but the dragon began attacking." The spirit, however, is not buying it. "You would already be in that dragon's stomach if it weren't for the ground breaking away from the impact of that thing's attacks." "You fool." Iaren, trying to lighten the mood, says, "Though, I think I held on pretty well, didn't I?" The spirit grudgingly replies, "Humph. It's true that you've gotten stronger thanks to that Saint Bird's heart." They have a purpose for being in the cavern, as a glowing plant with luminous flowers is shown in the distance. The spirit points to it, saying, "Look over there. The miracle herb is all right." But Iaren is disappointed. "It's so far," he says. He complains that it's gonna take forever to get up there. But the spirit's eyes glow brightly. Let's head that way. I felt something strange." Iaren, confused, asks, "Huh? I don't sense anything." But the spirit is not to be argued with. "Stop talking back to me. Just go," it commands, and Iaren, with a tired sigh, obeys. The spirit guides him to a new path, a hidden passage behind a glowing crack in a wall. Iaren is surprised. "Is this the place?" he asks. But he sees nothing. "There's nothing here." The spirit insists, and "Oh, there's definitely something here." It then tells him to dig. With a grunt, Iaren digs into the wall, and the rock begins to crack and fall away. As he digs, a bright, magical light shines from within. He is shocked by what he sees. This is... The spirit is ecstatic, with stars in its eyes. The word jackpot is written all over the scene as a sign of the spirit's joy. The two have found something of immense value, a large vein of mithril. Meanwhile, a few miles away, a man in a black suit, Jace, is sitting on a tree branch, contemplating his next move. He is looking for a specific material to go with the mithril, something that can be combined with it. He holds a small, glowing piece of mithril in his hand. Now, I just need to find something else to go with it, he says to himself. He knows that mithril's mana conductibility and absorption rate are very high, but is not as efficient when alone. It needs to be combined with other metals in order to fully live up to its potential. But he also knows that it can't be just any metal. He then reveals what he is looking for. The best candidate is adamant, the hardest material in the world. He sighs, though, adamant is just as rare as mithril. How am I gonna get my hands on that? Just then, he hears a girl's voice screaming for help. He ignores her, thinking to himself about the prophecy he is following. He wonders, does the prophecy not know where? Help, the girl screams. She is an elf, running from a pack of hellhounds, and she is desperately calling out for help. She mistakes Jace for an assistant and yells, "Over here! Assistant!" She is angry that he is ignoring her. Hey! Are you going to keep pretending you didn't hear me? I asked for help. Jace, still unbothered, replies, if you were in danger, of course I'd help, but why would an ELF be in danger because of a mere hellhound? The girl, Arya, furious with his nonchalance, uses her magic to whip him off the tree. She then proceeds to destroy the hellhounds with a single, powerful spell. She calmly sits on the tree next to him and says, "There." Jace asks her, "Did you come to me on purpose?" She lies and says, "No, it was a coincidence." But then she quickly changes her mind. "I did come to you on purpose." Jace asks her why she is trying to get close to him, thinking it is because of his social status. He even offers that she try to befriend Aintarmian instead. Arya smiles and explains, "I don't like to dig one well. I like to dig many." She reveals that she wants to get close to all the members of the Elector House. Jace laughs and says, Arya looks confused, but she just keeps smiling. She then points to him and says, "You're so cold." He replies, "Why? Are you trying to get close to me because of my social status?" He then reveals her full name. Arya Fridian? The two are now in a battle of wits. As they are talking, a student in the distance is heard screaming, "A dragon just came out from the lake." The student is now panicked and is yelling for the professor. A large, serpentine dragon rises from the lake, surrounded by water and light. It is a powerful creature, and it is ready to cause havoc. The tranquility of the forest is shattered by a sudden, jarring revelation. A young man with striking black hair and crimson eyes stands tense, his attention fixed on his companion, a female with elf-like features. He voices their shared surprise, "A dragon? A dragon? That's strange. Just out of nowhere?" His companion, perched high on a massive tree branch, gives a calm and confident reply, "Right," before jumping down. Below, the exasperated young man on the ground watches as she disappears, muttering, "You can't just leave me like that." A prophecy was meant to guide their exploration, but something has gone horribly wrong. The young man with black hair realizes the truth as he sprints through the trees, his face a mask of fury. Shit! Something went wrong. The prophecy didn't say that the dragon would come out of the water and start attacking. The dragon roars, a ferocious beast of water and fury, as a desperate plea is heard from a distance. What happened to Ainti then? The enraged dragon unleashes a powerful blast of water, but the students and their assistants are in full retreat. A blue-haired assistant shouts, "Get out of its way," while a blonde-haired one yells, "This way." In the midst of the chaos, a professor with purple hair takes charge. "Fall back, all of you first years," he bellows. The assistants protect the first-year students. As the battle rages, the blue flame spirit warns Ainti, that dragon is after you because you took the herb. Unfazed, Aint, the black-haired young man, calmly holds up a glowing herb and decides, "Let's leave the dragon to the assistants and the professors." He then turns to his companion and says, "Make sure it doesn't see you," before his companion confirms, "Alright." The dragon's cries and roars echo through the forest as the assistants and professors engage the beast in a frantic, magical assault. A powerful magical barrier is raised to block an attack. The young man with black hair, Ain't, looks on, his eyes glowing with dark power as he prepares to act. He grabs the magical device and throws it at the dragon, striking it with a powerful, brilliant flash. Blood splatters from the dragon's snout. However, the powerful blow isn't enough to stop the beast. The young man with black hair curses under his breath, "Damn it. He can't believe it's still alive." Was that not enough, he wonders. In the distance, a bearded man shouts, "Nice, Fernan. Leave the rest to us." A new, more powerful fight begins as the professors take over. The young man with black hair calmly looks on as the dragon gets ready to unleash another attack. The dragon charges a massive blast of blue energy and fires it at the professors, but they are ready. They meet the dragon's attack with their own magic, resulting in a spectacular explosion of power. The young man with black hair observes their battle, realizing the opportunity before him. The dragon, tired and defeated, flees the scene. It's running away. Chase after it, one of the assistants shouts. As the professors give chase, the black-haired young man, Ain't, reflects on the events. That's strange. Did the future change because I intervened? Anyway, it's fine since the person who's supposed to save humanity is alright. He stares at the blonde-haired young man, the prophesied savior. I can't have him dying on me when he has yet to do his worth. The blonde-haired young man, Fernan, asks with a confused expression, "What? What's with his face? Is he scared?" Fernan then tearfully grabs Ain't's arm, saying, "You came to save me." Ain't looks flustered, responding, "Huh? Yeah. It's an assistant's duty to make sure that students are safe." Ain't tries to put an end to the conversation, saying, "Well, as long as you're fine, you go your way." Fernan isn't done with him, though. Another assistant, Hyde, shouts, "Ain't. We have business with him. Don't let him go just like that." Fernan stops Ain't. I wanted to talk to you about something. Do you have time?" Ain't cautiously agrees. "What is it?" Fernan looks around and confirms that no one is around, and no one is around here. Ain't then asks, "What did you want to say to me?" Fernan starts by asking about his merchant guild. Does your merchant guild deal with metals too?" Ain't says, "Of course." "Why? Do you want to buy something?" Ain't then gets straight to the point, saying, "No. You're in no financial state to buy something. Do you want to sell something then?" Ain't's blunt words hurt Fernan's feelings. "You're right, but that kind of hurt." Ain't, with a hint of awkwardness, apologizes, "Oops. Slip of the tongue." As the conversation continues, Ain't has a dark realization. He has seen the blonde-haired young man before. "I had forgotten because of how soft he is, but this is the guy who pushed me to the very bottom of life." Ain't's past is then revealed. Fernan gives him an expulsion letter, and with a confident smirk, he says to Ain't, "I'm in no financial state to go buy something? You have insulted me." Back in the present, Ain't, wary of the blonde-haired young man's true nature, apologizes profusely. "I apologize if that hurt. It was not intentional. Don't ever hold it against me. I was just kidding. Never." Ignoring the strange behavior, Fernan says, yes, when Ain't asks if he has something to sell. Fernan holds up a glittering crystal and asks, "It's this?" Ain't is shocked. Adamant, he thinks to himself, his mind reeling. "I was just wondering how to get my hands on this thing. And he just has it?" Ain't tries to hide his excitement as he says, "What a jackpot." "No, it's still not in my hands." "Calm down." He then puts on his professional merchant face and calmly asks, "That's adamant. you want to sell that? It isn't easy to get. Where did you get that? Fernan replies, I can't really tell you that. But reassures him, but I didn't get it using immoral means, so you don't need to worry about that. Fernan then reveals an even bigger surprise, there's quite a bit of it too. Ain't gasps, gasp. There's more than that? He realizes, he must have found it in the underwater cave. The blue flame spirit, wary of the Pellenberg's reputation for ripping off others, shouts to Fernan, Auntie, watch out. The Pellenbergs are known for ripping others off. Don't give in even if he tries to buy it for cheaper. Ain't. Do you understand? However, Ain't immediately accepts Fernan's conditions, stunning the spirit. Ain't then questions Fernan, but you could sell it for a lot more if you put it up for auction. Why are you selling me it instead? Fernan says, I want to get rid of it as fast as possible. Ain't, now with a sinister smile, thinks to himself, I had forgotten how soft he is, but this is the guy who pushed me to the very bottom of life. Fernan, the true Ain't, smiles back, don't forget that I risked my own life to save yours, alright? He then leans in and warns Ain't with a calm, intimidating tone, therefore, if you ever have a desire to make me go bankrupt, remember what happened today. The newly named Ain't, shocked and intimidated, stammers, be bankrupt. Ain't, now recovered from his shock, smiles and says, then, I'll contact you after preparing the contract, leaving Fernan confused and alone. A few days later, Hyde returns to the palace to find Ain't's room is filled with glowing crystals. What is all this? He asks, stunned. Ain't smiles with triumph. Welcome, you have never seen this much mithril and adamant before, have you? He then tells Hyde he's not selling the adamant, but instead plans to use it to create a giant ego golem that moves on its own and has its own will. From our protagonist. He muses, I had always wondered. A knight has his horse, an elf her fairies, but why doesn't a merchant have anything? In a fit of righteous frustration, he exclaims, why are merchants fated to be lonely? To a butler's skeptical gaze, he declares, that is why I have decided to make ego golems to resolve this great injustice. The butler, taken aback, mutters, I don't know if you can call that injustice. The protagonist's thoughts drift, conjuring images of powerful magic. He knows the creation of golems require a lot of advanced magic knowledge, along with a lot of money, a fact that prevents anyone from even dreaming of owning one unless they're astronomically wealthy. He proudly concludes that this makes a golem a fitting companion for a merchant. More than just a companion, he believes, the ego golems will make great, dependable guards in a terrible time of war. He understands that to be effective, he needs to make sure they're well made and very sturdy. His thoughts spiral back to a past filled with demonic turmoil, and his face takes on a sinister edge, fueled by a powerful, villainous magic. As he stands firm in his resolve, the villainous magic affects him, and he laughs with a sinister flair. The butler, observing the protagonist's strange behavior, thinks he seems to be in a good mood. I'll just leave him be. He then asks, how big would they be? The protagonist, with a wild grin, responds, 10 meters. The butler's eyes widen in shock as he shouts, 10 meters? Why do you need them to be so big? The protagonist responds with a mix of fury and confusion, why? Because the bigger, the better. He is then suddenly afflicted with a debilitating headache, a curse from a prophecy he has to endure. He passes out from the pain, and when he awakens, he finds the butler hovering over him with a thermometer. I'm fine. I'm not sick, he protests, but the butler retorts, you literally passed out. Do you have any idea how many times you screamed because of your headache? The protagonist's frustration grows, and he sighs, not the damn prophecy again. The butler, still trying to understand what is happening, states, I feel like this must be because of when you were struck by lightning. The protagonist's thoughts return to the prophecy. He knows he never get a break. It's another prophecy. This time, the vision was on SEA, and was about a bunch of people who had signed a contract with demons attacking AINT in a yacht club meeting. He recalls the details of the vision. A monster appears, and a voice shouts, "What is a monster doing here?" Another voice from the panicked crowd yells, "Turn the ship around." The protagonist realizes that the yacht club is a club meant to foster friendship among the academy students. Only those who come from very renowned families are allowed to join. He realizes that, and the human working with the demons that had infiltrated my yacht happened to be an employee of my merchant guild. The protagonist's blood runs cold as he realizes the horrifying conclusion, and he looked at his opponent's face. The protagonist returns to reality and tells the professor that the dragon has many uses, but then asks, however, "Is it alright for you to come see a student outside work like this?" The professor laughs and says, "That's rich coming from you when you reach out to professors personally all the time. Why did you ask Professor Rosalia for the assistant position last time?" The protagonist responds with a smirk, "She's too strict with the rules. You should come to me next time. As you already know, I'm willing to do a lot with just a bit of money." The professor, seeing through the protagonist's cunning plan, asks, "So you're asking me for something in return?" The protagonist, with a triumphant smirk, agrees. "I want a monopoly over the ship purchasing rights. I want them to only buy from our guild." The professor, baffled, asks, "A ship? Why would we buy a ship? Is that all you want?" The protagonist smiles confidently and replies, "Yes. There's no need for one right now." He then reveals his foresight, knowing that soon enough, however, they will buy ships, because after that prophesied incident, with the invasion of monsters and sunken yachts, the Academy will realize that it's important to know how to fight on water and begin lessons related to it. He concludes with a final, smug thought, knowing that of course, that would lead to mock battles on SEA, which means that the ships will be damaged. He will be at the ready to repair or sell the Academy new ships, again and again. The chapter ends with a mysterious and dark scene. The bookstore clerk, who is not who he seems, is seen speaking to a black, shadowy, and ominous being. The shadow reveals that the protagonist, did not meet a certain Varian Kalbrudern as planned. The bookstore clerk, fueled by determination, vows, "I'll find out who's behind this, and no matter what." The shadow warns him, however, that it is too dangerous. The bookstore clerk, still suspicious, questions why the Academy hasn't said anything about it. He wonders if it is all just a coincidence or was it intended. A dark, swirling shadow composed of a malevolent energy seems restless, its form shifting with anxiety. A voice echoes from its depths, "Perhaps someone already knows of our existence." Across from the shadow, a man with striking blue hair stands in a dimly lit room, his expression calm and dismissive. He looks over his shoulder and replies, "There's no way. The world would be in chaos if they knew." He pauses for a moment, his brow furrowing as he considers the situation. "It must be a coincidence," he says, before adding a warning, "Still, act more carefully from now on." The camera pans to a wider shot of the room, revealing it to be a library. The man, now holding a rolled-up document, continues to speak with a serious tone. "It'll ruin our plans if the people find out about us while we're still lacking power." The shadowy figure's red eyes glow menacingly as it responds, "I understand." The man's voice lowers as he reveals his group's top priority. "Our first priority is to eliminate Armian." The shadowy figure swirls at his feet as he explains the urgency. He's been growing stronger way too fast ever since he joined the Academy. The scene shifts to a cosmic, starlit sky. The man muses, "I'm not sure the reason why, but this, too, must be the doing of the founding emperor." His words are accompanied by a magnificent vision of a divine, glowing figure in a white uniform, holding a sword and a book, appearing as a spiritual entity held within a giant, disembodied hand. The camera returns to the man and the shadow. The man's expression hardens as he reiterates his resolve. So the next plan must be successful. It'll be bad if Armian becomes even stronger than he is right now. He leans in, his eyes glowing with cold determination. do not disappoint me twice. With that, he turns and walks away, a book now in his hand, leaving the shadow to follow in his wake. The camera follows the man as he walks down a hallway. He abruptly shuts a large, wooden door. A woman with brown hair is on the other side of the door, looking at him with a surprised expression. He addresses her with a soft tone, "Miss," and with a devious smile, he holds up a book. "I found the book you're looking for." The woman's face lights up. She takes the book with a polite smile, saying, "Thanks. Have a nice day." The scene shifts to a luxurious dining room, where a different man with black hair, Ain't Armian, is sitting at a table. He looks up from his meal, his expression one of immediate concern. "You felt demonic energy? When? Where?" The woman with brown hair, Lewina, recounts her story. 3 days ago after dinner. About 7 p.m.? It was when I was with Bella. Ain't Armian's eyes narrow in recognition. "You mean Bella Hone, the second year ranked 19th in night studies?" Lewina confirms, "Yes, that Bella Hone." The scene shifts again to a grand academy hall, a flashback beginning. Lewina begins to narrate the events of the duel. 3 days ago, she requested for a training duel. "Usually, we duel with wooden swords, but she asked for real swords this time." A blue, celestial aura appears around Bella, who smiles confidently. Lewina continues, "She seemed really confident, as if she had gotten a miracle medicine from somewhere." The duel begins, full of blinding speed and explosive energy. Lewina narrates, "The confidence wasn't unfounded. Her swordsmanship was a lot heavier and bolder than before. She really did improve." The swords clash with a resounding clang, and Lewina's face is a mask of pure shock as she struggles to block Bella's attack. Lewina adds, "And it wasn't just her strength. She was also faster. Fast enough to lightly dodge my ultimate attacks. She unleashes a powerful, swirling attack, but Bella effortlessly dodges it and unleashes a powerful counterblow." The flashback ends, returning to Ain't Armian and Lewina. Lewina looks weary as she finishes her story. "That's what happened. You're definitely different," she says, now speaking directly to Bella. "Your attacks are heavier now, and you've become faster. I feel like I have much more control over my body now." Bella's expression is bright and cheerful. It's nice to hear it from someone else though. The flashback resumes, showing Bella's face with a glowing red aura. Then, let's keep going. Bella unleashes a devastating, explosive attack, and her face contorts as a red, cracked pattern appears on her skin. Ain't Armian, back in the dining room, reacts with shock and a sudden headache. "Damn it! My head!" The pain is immense, and he clenches his head as his eyes glow with a fierce red light. A vision erupts in his mind, an apocalyptic battlefield with a blood-red sky. Is this? Blood-red skies, a sickening stench, and demonic energy. He sees Bella and Varian fighting alongside him. There were monsters all around. And among them, humans who have lost their reason. Ain't Armian is horrified to recognize the corrupted people. They were students. They were people from the academy. They were citizens of the island. He realizes that the demonic energy had remained dormant in the students' bodies until now. He screams in his mind, the academy was indistinguishable from hell itself. Andromalius. Then is this right before Andromalius descended? The scene shifts back to the dining room. Ain't Armian, his face a grim mask of resolve, addresses Lewina. Bella has the daily life pattern of a very good student. She hasn't made contact with any suspicious people either. She hasn't gone through anything traumatic like Varian. He looks at her friends, smiling and happy, and concludes, her personality is bright, and she has friends. There shouldn't be room for demonic energy in her heart. He pauses, taking a deep breath. Yes. It could be bad if it really is demonic energy, after all. Plus, Bella is my close childhood friend. I can't just sit still and watch her succumb to evil. A devastating scene unfolds as blackbirds circle against a fiery orange sky, the Academy grounds in a state of chaos. Amidst the destruction and unconscious students, Gardner reels from a grim discovery. Demonic energy, he shouts, his voice laced with disbelief. They've been infected by demonic energy. Are you saying the students signed a contract with the demons? His small, fiery blue spirit, Elias, floats nearby, his expression fierce. If so, I definitely would have known, the spirit counters, refuting Gardner's theory. A ghostly, humanoid version of Elias appears, calmly instructing him on a different course of action. Use your mana, the ethereal voice commands. Kneeling beside an unconscious student, Gardner obeys, placing his mana-infused hand on the victim's chest. A faint, golden light radiates from his touch as the narrative reveals the truth. The demons, it seems, were far more cunning this time. They were infecting the students with demonic energy during their regular daily lives. Elias explains that the process had to be slow and subtle, as the students would not have absorbed the energy readily, and he assumes much of it went to waste. Just as a thought solidifies in Elias's mind, a realization strikes him. There must be something amplifying the mana, he starts, his eyes widening in shock. Over there. His gaze, along with Gardner's, lands on a foreboding sight, a massive, glowing red magic circle drawn on the doors of the Academy's main hall. It's an ominous, intricate design, swirling with dark energy. That magic circle! Elias exclaims. That's what's activating the demonic energy. As they move closer to the source, the atmosphere changes, growing thick with a sinister aura. Gardner feels a jolt of pain and clutches his stomach, gasping as a possessed student, Bella, attacks a fellow knight. Her eyes glow ominously as she clashes with a sword. Bella's! Gardner shouts in horror. She's been infected by demonic energy. Elias's ghostly form appears, urging him, if you destroy that magic circle, she should return to normal. The magic circle, however, is no ordinary artifact. With a sudden jolt of understanding, Elias realizes its true, terrifying purpose. It's a summoning circle. The narration announces, the demons will return to this world. A hulking, dark figure with a snake-like tail and glowing green eyes begins to emerge from the circle. This is Andromalius, a powerful demon, and he is coming back. The scene shifts abruptly to a different time and place. A man with black hair and red eyes sits on the floor of a study, his expression one of abject horror. He whispers to himself. Demonic energy. Bella. Andromalius, the man's shock implies he knew this would happen, but still can't believe it. Moments later, a character named Fernan rushes through a door and finds two women in a grand hall, calling out, Luina. His urgency is palpable as he reveals the truth to them. The girls, Luina and Bella's friend, are shocked. Bella's friend promises to protect Bella from being killed for her infection. Fernan reveals his own motives, saying, I need Bella alive since she needs to act as proof. For her friend, Luina. His true identity is revealed as he stands beside a group of demons. The man with black hair and red eyes is none other than Andromalius, the demon that was just summoned. He explains his plan, stating his need for Bella as a tool, and then adds, as well as for me, since I need Luina too like me. And for the continent. The scene shifts back to the present. The three friends are now standing together in the grand hall. Luina, a cheerful young woman, tells her friend she needs to prove the existence of demonic energy in Bella first. Fernan, the man who is also Andromalius, interjects, and the conversation quickly turns into an argument. He bluntly states, there are demons. We must kill those demons. So do as I say from now on. Luina refuses, but Fernan reveals the truth about her own infection, telling her, if we don't do anything about the demonic energy inside you, you're going to eventually lose your reason. When Luina questions if he is threatening her, Fernan replies, I'm simply speaking the truth. Luina, still in denial, insists, I'm perfectly fine, before she abruptly grabs Bella's friend's arm and pleads, Bella, please. The moment of confusion passes, and Luina, realizing her mistake, agrees to follow Fernan. I'll do what you say, Fernan, she says, but with a condition, but in return, you'd better apologize to Luina and me if I prove that I don't have any demonic energy. Luina's friend is confused by her using the third person, but a humorous moment diffuses the tension. The group's search for the source of the demonic energy begins, taking them to the training hall, the dorms, the lecture halls, and the cafeteria, but they find nothing. They enter a cafe and are greeted by a merchant who immediately shows them a new romance novel, a favorite of Bella's. Fernan, in an internal monologue, realizes that the source may not be a place, but an object. The merchant, who we see is secretly a demon, offers Fernan a book, but he declines. Fernan bids him farewell, saying, I'll see you next time. The merchant's wide, knowing grin and glowing red eyes confirm his true nature. The group enters a private room, where a saint named Jace awaits. He's surrounded by a golden, divine aura and white feathers, and he cheerfully greets them, I've been waiting for you. He speaks of faith and mana, and Luina's friend is captivated, kneeling before him and proclaiming her belief. Fernan cuts through the divine display. Jace, did you bring the thing I wanted? He asks. Jace cheerfully confirms he has it and the two proceed to exchange a red box and a stack of cash. Luina, in a state of shock, asks, Fernan, what are you doing? Why is he here? With a sinister smirk, Fernan looks at her with glowing red eyes and says, Jace will prove it. That you have demonic energy in you. A hush falls over the Grand Library as the accusation hangs in the air. Bella Hone, a second-year student of night studies, stares in disbelief at the people before her. With a mixture of shock and defiance, she questions them. You're going to prove that I have demonic energy, she exclaims. How? One of the men, a charismatic figure with fiery red hair, steps forward, a confident smile on his face. He calmly explains their position. We've always been prepared for this kind of scenario. There was a prophecy from the founding pope that the demons would return. He then presents a small, glowing box with a click, revealing an artifact within. As he holds it, another man, one with dark hair and striking red eyes, adds to the explanation, there is nothing more precise than our artifacts when it comes to detecting demons or demonic energy. The red-haired man, whose name is Jace, then addresses Bella. I heard the gist of the situation. Your name was? Bella, composed once more, answers, Bella Hone. I'm in my second year of night studies. Jace's smile widens slightly. You're my senior. He then instructs her, then, could you hold onto this marble with both of your hands? He explains that the marble's mana will enter her body and inspect your insides. Bella hesitates, but a flicker of determination crosses her face as she thinks, I'll just get this over with and get my apology. As Bella holds the marble, she can't help but ask the black-haired man, are you sure that will do the job? He replies with a knowing look, maybe. Jace said that if that thing can't detect it, nothing else can. Noticing her apprehension, Jace chimes in, don't be nervous. He then whispers to her, to be honest, I don't believe that you've been infected with demonic energy. I am a member of the faith, but a demon in this day and age? It's impossible. Bella, mentally preparing herself, thinks, just make yourself comfortable. All right. As Bella's mana flows into the marble, the artifact begins to glow brightly, and the runes on its surface shine with an ethereal light. The other student, perplexed by the brilliant result, asks, what does that mean? Does that mean there's no demonic energy? The black-haired man calmly corrects him. No. It means the opposite. That marble changes color when it detects demonic energy. Bella's eyes widen in terror. What? She screams. That can't be possible. Something must be wrong with it. Jace's gentle demeanor vanishes, replaced by a sinister glow in his eyes. He begins to chant a powerful incantation. Dear great dragon god, I send up to you an evil human who has accepted a demon into their heart. Another student, witnessing the scene, yells, Wait! Bella! The black-haired man yells out in desperation. Jace! Waait as a massive, fiery explosion erupts from Jace's hands, engulfing Bella. The floor cracks and shatters, and the magical marble rolls to a stop amidst the debris. As the dust settles, a new figure emerges, the long-haired student with the magical sword. Bella, now on the floor and clearly terrified, screams, I'm going to kill you. You evil! You bastard! You can't just use magic like that out of nowhere. The black-haired man restrains Jace, who is still struggling to get to Bella. The black-haired man calmly explains his deductions to the bewildered students. So the students of the academy are being infected by a demonic energy that someone is spreading around? Jace, upon hearing this, realizes his mistake. Bella didn't actually meet or sign a contract with a demon? The black-haired man reveals, I kept tabs on her the last few days, but there was nothing suspicious. A look of grave concern falls over Jace's face. This will be really bad if you're right. The black-haired man takes charge of the situation. Listen closely, Jace. The demons cannot know that we know about them. He then presents a plan. I have a plan. If you help me, we should be able to eliminate them all with an ambush. Bella, still frightened, asks the black-haired man, Can you get rid of the demonic energy inside Bella then? He responds with a confident smile, Of course. Jace, with an unnerving grin on his face, extends a hand to her. Please give me your hand, he says. Bella recoils, her voice trembling. Why? To kill me? Jace's smile remains, but his eyes glow with an unnerving light. I'm going to purify the demonic energy inside your body. I'm not going to kill you. Not at all. Bella, now a small chibi, screams, Liar. You've got crazy eyes, and I'm scared of him. I want to go home. The black-haired man, whose name is revealed as Fernan, scolds Jace, I told you Bella wasn't an evil person. He adds, if you don't fix that look in your eyes, I'm going to half our business with the order. Jace, now in a chibi form, instantly changes his expression to a more agreeable one. Fernan pats him on the head. Goodness. I'm sorry about that. Good boy. Bella reluctantly gives Jace her hand, and the purification ritual begins. She recites a creed, the order eliminates only those who are evil and demons. We do not harm innocent victims. As the powerful, golden light engulfs her, a voice from the side asks, Is there really a magic that purifies demonic energy? Jace calmly replies, yes. It's a spell we all learn. Bella, now in pain, asks, I'll be fine, right? Jace reassures her, of course. It doesn't harm you. Well, it'll sting a bit because it's burning your insides. Bella screams in agony as the energy burns away the demonic infection, leaving her unconscious on the floor. Fernan confirms, that cleansed you of all your evil energy. The student who helped Bella kneels by her side and checks on her. Is Bella alright? Fernan asks. The student replies, yes. She's breathing. Although I don't think she's gonna wake up anytime soon. Fernan looks at the cracked walls of the room, musing to himself, this building is really sturdy. I would have expected the entire building to collapse with the spell Jace just used. It was built to withstand a lot of shock and noise, too. As the group prepares to leave, Fernan decides to carry Bella back to the dorm but then stops. Wait. He pulls out a bottle and begins pouring its contents into Bella's mouth. The student watches in disbelief. What are you doing? He asks. Fernan nonchalantly replies, I thought it'd be less suspicious if she looks like she's just drunk. He then explains, there's nothing wrong with being careful. After all, we don't know where the demons are. The student still worries for her reputation, saying, alcohol in broad daylight? I worry for her image. Fernan then hands him a cloak. Then cover her face with this. That should do. Fernan thanks the student for his help and says to himself, that resolves the issue with Bella. I need to use Jace to find all the humans infected with demonic energy. We'll have to purify as much as we can. That way, we'll be able to minimize the chaos. Later, sitting alone and sipping a drink, Fernan reflects on his plans. This is the most natural scenario I can think of to prove that I'm not related to the demons. It's not that hard to plan things out like this when you know the future. He continues, if things just go according to plan, Ayanta should trust me 100% afterwards. It won't be long until he considers me a friend. He reveals that he's been investigating suspicious individuals and found that one of them had become an employee on the yacht. But I didn't know they were working with demons. The next day, Jace and Fernan stand on a pier, looking out at a magnificent yacht. Fernan looks at Jace and with a sly grin says, it's about time I catch my fish. Jace, confused, simply replies, fish. Fernan smiles to himself, ready for the next part of his plan to unfold. He has all the pieces in place to expose the demons and protect his new friends, all while achieving his own mysterious goals. An old man, the Academy branch manager of the Golden Turtle Merchant Guild, sits in a lavish study, his face serious as he confronts Fernan. I heard from Professor Grad that you want a monopoly over the ships, he asks, his gaze unwavering. Fernan, seated across from him, considers his words. The manager continues, I did hear you were willing to sell the water dragon at a good price in return, but a monopoly over the ships is a bit. How about another condition on top of that, Fernan? Fernan considers the proposal. A mythical creature's corpse is the most valuable when sold as is instead of in parts. He wants me to sell the parts at a reasonable price instead, he thinks to himself, taking a sip from his teacup. With a subtle, he places the cup down, his expression becoming firm. He knows he has to give in. I normally don't accept these kinds of offers, but I need to tuck my tail in this time. The manager responds with a smile. In return for a monopoly over the ships for the next 20 years, if we have a request, please sell us the parts of the dragon at a reasonable price. All right. We can add that condition to the contract, Fernan says, a wide, confident grin spreading across his face. He knows this is a massive win. The ship business with the Academy will bring me a larger profit, after all, he thinks to himself, his expression triumphant as the contract is signed. Ain't, his right-hand man, watches on. But why did you want this monopoly so badly, he asks. We'll definitely need help from the household for this. Ain't is worried the Duke will veto the deal. I feel like the Duke is going to veto it, saying there's no profit. Fernan grins, his red eyes gleaming. Right now, there isn't, but that'll change soon. He dismisses Ain't's concern, and with a confident smirk, asks, anyway, where's the list of yacht employees? A subordinate reports that they found no one suspicious, but Fernan isn't concerned. Of course. It wouldn't be a demon if they were easily caught, he says with a serious expression, revealing his true motive. He looks out at the magnificent ship in the harbor. It's just a shame that this nice ship is going to be destroyed, he thinks to himself. But in return, we'll take down a demon and grow my business. And Ain't will completely trust me. A faint chuckle escapes his lips. It's about time I caught my fish. Elsewhere, Valacy, the top first-year student in night studies, feels a strange chill. A small, blue spirit floats beside him, looking quizzical as he shivers. Valacy is in a library, and the blue spirit asks, how are you feeling? Valacy replies, not bad. Thanks to the herbs I got from the cave last time, I've completely absorbed the mana from the Saint Bird, too. The spirit cheers. Good. You got mana as well as money from selling adamant. The spirit's comment gives Vallacy an idea. This is why it's nice to have connections with rich guys, the spirit says, and Vallacy interrupts. On that note, Vallacy says, a mischievous smile on his face. He proposes a plan to the spirit. How about officially befriending Fernan? The spirit is furious. What? That rich bastard, it yells. Vallacy, ever the trickster, counters with the spirit's own words. You just said it's nice to have connections with rich guys. Wouldn't it be better if I became friends with him then? The spirit, now thoughtful, agrees. I guess it's not a bad idea. As a new plan forms, a secret council meets. They're not idiots. I'm sure they'll spend the necessary money when they see how dire the situation is, one member says. Then it'd be best to show Fernan a demon. Back in the library, Vallacy admits his doubts. Although I don't know how I'll do that since I've yet to see a demon myself. The spirit is undeterred. Demons do exist. They'll show themselves sooner or later. The spirit warns Vallacy, even if you do take in that Pellenberg as a friend, do not completely trust him. When Vallacy asks why, the spirit replies, the Pellenbergs once signed a contract with the demons. They'll do anything if it means more money for them. They're the reason why there's a saying, you do business even with the demons. Vallacy is quick to defend his friend. No. Fernan would never work with the demons. He's merciful, generous, values honor, and cannot walk past injustice. But just as he declares his admiration, an approaching footstep interrupts him. Someone's coming. Hide, he says in a panic. The voice calls out. Ain't Pellenberg, the rich bastard, walks into the library. I was wondering where you were, he says calmly. Vallacy asks if Ain't was looking for him. Yeah. I got an invitation to the yacht club, Ain't replies, inviting Vallacy along as his +1. Vallacy, surprised, asks if he's qualified since the club is only for prestigious households. You can only join with the recommendation of a member, Ain't explains. You're an Armian, so you're definitely qualified. Vallacy's mind races. A yacht club, he thinks. Then, wouldn't Schwaben be there too? This realization sends his blue spirit into a frenzy. He's trying to drag you into the demon's den, the spirit yells, trying to warn Vallacy away from Ain't. He's pretending to be your friend, but he's actually trying to screw you over. It urges Vallacy to turn down the invitation. I guess it'd be best not to go. Thanks, Vallacy, but Vallacy says, but then he suddenly stops. Wait, he exclaims. He had forgotten something important. Since it's a yacht club, wouldn't you be going out to OCA, he thinks to himself. The blue spirit instantly changes its tune. I momentarily forgot, but there's there. Tell him you'll go. Vallacy turns to Ain't, who asks, so that's a yes, right? Vallacy smiles nervously. Yeah. I'll go. Just tell me the date and time. Ain't gives a knowing smirk. All right. The blue spirit, now triumphant, reveals its hidden motive. If we're lucky, you'll be able to find what the first emperor had left behind for you. Vallacy is exhausted by the constant surprises, but the spirit insists, the more you have, the better. Meanwhile, a beautiful woman with long brown hair hands an envelope to a man with short brown hair. Take it, she says. What's this? He asks. An invitation to the yacht club, she replies. The man with brown hair, who we learn is named Varian, is shocked. The yacht club? He exclaims. He stares at the woman with wide, knowing eyes. Getting an invitation from the very person who had been preventing me from joining. What a shock, he says with a sinister smirk. The woman explains. You do know that Bella is a member. It's true that I had been the one preventing her from joining. It was to pressure her with her debt. Varian replies, To be honest, there isn't anyone more qualified than her to be a member. The woman asks why he changed his mind, and he replies with a knowing gaze. I've found traces of a demon. He reveals his plan. I obtained information that they're going to try something at the yacht club meeting, so I've already prepared a trap. But it's always nice to have someone to help me. The woman's eyes glow with a fierce, blue light, and she clenches her fist. Nice. I'll never forgive them for infecting Bella. We have to get revenge this time. The two continue their conversation, but their focus shifts to Bella. Is Bella up yet? Varian asks. No, the woman replies. Not yet? It's been a whole day, Varian says, exhausted. The red-haired character, Jace, who was responsible for purifying Bella, is shown walking alone, dejected. The words, "Just how much damage did Jace do?" flash across the screen. Jace sighs and collapses to his knees. How did I end up in this situation, he asks himself. I'm no longer the proud successor of the Calbruderns, nor the second-best first-year student in night studies. He reveals his motive. I had T.O. surpass the Armian guy for my family, T.O. become one of the elector houses, but I lost. Then I was abandoned by the prince. He ends his lament with, but AINT. He sits on a park bench, defeated, when a new character approaches. HUI Varian, the new character says, Do you want to get lunch with me? The new character, a kind-looking man with blonde hair and a gentle smile, offers a helping hand to the defeated Jace, providing a glimmer of hope at the end of the chapter. As a somber figure slumped alone on a park bench, the sun shone brightly on the academy grounds. Eric, with a casual stride, approached and offered a surprising invitation. Do you want to get lunch with me? Kalis, startled, looked up with an expression of pure disbelief. What? Lunch, he shouted, his face contorted in a mix of shock and irritation. Eric responded with a relaxed smile. Well, you just looked lonely. This simple statement ignited Kalis's rage. He bolted to his feet, yelling, And whose fault is that? The confusion on Eric's face was clear as he replied, Is it mine? Kalis glared at him, a finger pointed accusingly. Yes. Who else? In a fit of fury, Kalis revealed his true feelings. It's because I lost to you that I was abandoned by the second prince. Ever since then, no one's wanted to be friends with me. Did you know that? Eric listened quietly as Kalis continued his outburst, a torrent of political worries spilling out. He fretted about his family's rivalry with Eric's, thinking, the Schwabens and Armians are already on bad terms. If he realizes it was a Schwaben that was supporting me, am I fucked? His mind raced with paranoia. Is he gonna make life even more difficult for me? Eric, however, remained calm. So the second prince was your friend? He asked simply. He then offered a nonchalant apology. Then I guess it would be my fault that you don't have friends. I apologize. So let's have lunch together. This casual acceptance only deepened Kalis's confusion. What? He sputtered, bewildered by Eric's reaction. Kalis thought to himself, does he not care? He looked at Eric's serene smile and wondered, what is he scheming? With a firm, Kalis placed a book down. Humph. In your dreams, he declared. As he stormed off, he shouted, this isn't some shounen where your enemy of the past becomes a friend. Eric, looking surprisingly frantic, called after him, Varian. Wait. His protests were met with one last, angry retort. Don't insult me any further, ain't Armian. As Kalis disappeared, Eric was left with his spiritual companion, a small blue flame. I told you IT wouldn't work, said a disembodied voice. The blue spirit explained its logic. Calbrudern might have lost to you, but he's still skilled. Anyway, what's important is that he doesn't have any talented friends. Just like you. Eric, holding a sandwich, sighed. It's not that I don't have friends. The spirit, however, cut him off with a blunt cold truth. Actually, the reason is exactly the same. It's because of Schwaben. If you had friends, you wouldn't be eating lunch alone like this. Eric, resigned, asked, then how should I take the sword? The spirit, full of its own wisdom, responded, don't worry about it. I told you there's mithril in the sword, right? Mithril can absorb souls, but it's capable of many other things. Like this. The spirit shot into the sword, causing it to glow brilliantly. You can even decrease its size. Eric watched in awe as his massive sword shrank to the size of his hand. I didn't know this was possible. That's nice, he said, genuinely impressed. The spirit had an idea. No one will bat an eye if you just put it on as a necklace. This kind of style was in trend back in my day. All the women loved it when I wore necklaces like that. Eric gave a look of profound skepticism. A necklace? I'm sure. He wasn't having it. It's tacky, he stated bluntly, causing the spirit to visibly crack in dismay. The spirit's voice boomed in outrage. Tacky? You kids nowadays don't get what's cool. But Eric had made up his mind. I'll just put it in my pocket. Meanwhile, in a lavish room, a dark-haired man in a black suit received a report. We have the Scarlet Turtle on standby in the Academy, as you have ordered. They'll get into action as soon as monsters appear. The man asked, what about the recording sphere? His companion responded, it's all over the cruise. We'll be able to keep an eye on the demons that way. The man's companion, the intel agent, was skeptical. Are you sure about them having infiltrated the merchant guild? I know you're not lying, but it's still hard to believe. Demons in this era, too. Where did you get this information? The dark-haired man replied coolly, I have my ways. His companion, realizing the truth, said, I thought I was your intel agent. The man smiled faintly. Just because you're my hands and feet, doesn't mean you would know all that goes on in my head. I said Jace Wines, the agent asked, catching on. The man smiled slightly. Well. In any case, the important thing is to get the demons. As he slipped on his formal coat, he stated his ultimate goal. What happens after? I'll find out, he declared confidently, how they infiltrated the place, how they hid their identity, and what their goal is. As well as who was behind all this. He was referring to Aint Armian. He handed a golden mask to his agent. I gave him the Saint Bird's heart. For that, he needs to prove his worth. I'm trusting you tonight, Aint Armian. And so, Eric found himself on a cruise ship, attending a masquerade ball in his school uniform. He came face to face with the handsome, masked Jace Wines, who immediately commented on his outfit. I didn't think you'd come in your school uniform, he said. Eric, however, simply replied, it's actually not necessary, before turning to a small crowd. But I need her within a certain radius so I can guarantee my survival. Eric linked arms with his partner and said, I've already invested quite a bit, and we've gotten pretty close to each other now. I need to show off our friendship so the others don't try to take her away from me. His partner was the blonde-haired man, Kalis, who playfully asked, should I call you my lady? Eric whispered back, no thanks. Suddenly, a panicked announcer's voice rang out, we'll be taking OFF soon. Please get on board. Fireworks exploded in the sky as the ship set sail. As the ship sailed into a stormy sea, Eric's voice was heard saying, but I helped her to direct that anger toward demons. It was revealed that he was talking to Kalis, and Eric had orchestrated Bella's anger toward the demons. Eric looked at Kalis, and Kalis's expression showed a satisfying smirk, as Eric gave him a well done. Eric noticed something in the ballroom. How interesting, he muttered. What is it? Jace asked. Eric's eyes glinted with purpose. Perhaps everyone here was waiting for this moment, he said calmly, standing in the center of the room with Kalis. The meeting, he said, his voice full of intent. Between Schwaben and Armian. A tranquil night at sea turns into a nightmare as the guests on the cruise ship are surrounded by a massive swarm of asterisk sea worms. The water, once a beautiful blue, is now a writhing mass of black dots. A voice cries out, "It's SCA worms." Asterisk as the overhead view of the grand ship reveals it to be completely encircled by the disgusting creatures. As the passengers look on in horror, the water churns with an ominous sound. A panicked guest screams, "Kyaahh. They're so disgusting." Asterisk while another whispers, "Why are there so many?" Asterisk two men in suits, wearing masks, rush to the railing. One of them, trying to calm the crowd, yells, "There's just a lot of them. Don't panic." But their attempts at composure are futile as a colossal, spiky-mouthed monster erupts from the water. Panic ensues, and a character's voice booms over the chaos, "Fight instead of just watching." A brave man attempts to cast flame magic at the beast, but a blonde woman screams, "Wait. Don't use flame magic." She is too late. The flames explode, and she shouts, "You're setting the ship on fire, you idiot." Just as the ship is engulfed in fire, a new blonde-haired man descends from above, his sword in hand. He lands with a solid on the deck, prepared to fight. As a sea monster's gaping maw appears, a startle escapes the lips of a guest. The newcomer crouches, sword ready, and a panicked man with a distorted grin on his face looks on. The newcomer is a seasoned warrior, and he confronts the brown-haired man's demonic form. A voice warns, "He's too strong for you right now." The new characters and the transformed man clash, their attacks creating a powerful shockwave. In the chaos, someone yells, "Just throw him overboard." The brown-haired man is flung from the ship, along with his knife, into the swirling mass of worms below. The blonde-haired newcomer watches him fall. He grimly concludes, "He's probably dead, right?" The guests gasp, "He fell into the sea worms." The man continues, "I'm sure he's dead." Yet, a new and terrifying presence emerges. A character shouts, "ASCA serpent." Revealing a massive, lightning-shrouded creature with glowing eyes and razor-sharp teeth. The newcomer, seizing control, gives an order, "Knights in training, to the front. Magic students, support from the rear." The party guests are terrified, their expressions a mix of fear and despair. The protagonist begins to fight the sea serpent, his sword glowing with golden energy. He's a powerful warrior, but the serpent's power is immense. The creature's roar causes the ship to shake, and a voice cries out, "The ship is going to sink at this rate." The protagonist is hit by the sea serpent's breath attack and loses consciousness, but is caught by a magical entity. He asks, "What happened?" The entity explains, "You were hit by the SEA serpent's breath attack. It freezes your body temporarily. You lost consciousness while frozen and fell into the ocean when the ship sank." The protagonist wakes up on a deserted beach, his sword and the magical entity by his side. He is confused, but the magical entity explains, "I undid the attack's effect on you and kept your temperature stable. That's why you were able to regain consciousness." The protagonist, surprised, asks, "You can do something like that too?" The entity explains the true power of his sword, "Your sword doesn't just seal my soul. It's a vessel meant to support the successor in all ways possible." The protagonist absorbs this information, saying, "I see." He then wonders aloud, "But where am I?" The magical entity's voice is filled with excitement as it says, "AI and this is the place. This is where the founding emperor left you an item. You got lucky. The island you got stranded on is the one you were actually looking for. The founding emperor must have guided us here. Asterisk. Their moment of relief is shattered as a new magical attack explodes nearby. The protagonist reacts with a stunned asterisk, but why are there two? There was only one before. Asterisk. He is soon face to face with not one, but two demons. The magical entity warns him, asterisk, be careful. They won't be easy opponents. Asterisk. He replies with determination, asterisk, I know. Asterisk. The protagonist is overwhelmed by the two demons, and a hand grips his throat. The transformed brown-haired man is also there, attacking with a knife. As the protagonist collapses, bleeding, he feels the poison spreading through his body. The magical entity's last words are a desperate, asterisk AINT. Asterisk. As the brown-haired demon lunges for the kill. Just as the demon closes in, a powerful burst of wind and sand erupts, sending the demons flying. The protagonist, who is exhausted, looks up through the dust and asks, asterisk, who? Asterisk. A new, shadowy figure with a powerful red aura stands in the distance, ready to fight. The chapter ends with a close-up on the face of the new character, whose eyes glow a menacing red. A fierce confrontation erupts in a forest clearing as two figures, a man and a woman, are sent plummeting from the sky. They crash into the earth, the impact sending out plumes of dirt and debris. A loud scream of anguish tears through the air as the man, injured and bewildered, struggles to his feet. He and his female companion stand against their attacker, a shadowy figure who moves with inhuman speed. The female character parries a vicious blow, her eyes glowing with blue light as she erects a powerful barrier, while the man unleashes a torrent of red energy from his mouth. They are in the throes of a painful transformation, their eyes glowing with red light. A third character, a blonde-haired man named Ain't, is also caught in the conflict. He falls to his knees, clutching his chest, a trickle of blood at the corner of his mouth. Aaghhh, he screams. Ain't gasps in pain as dark veins spread up his neck, and he realizes he has been poisoned. His assailant continues to attack, and Ain't's body contorts in a horrifying display of pain. In the end, he collapses, barely conscious. Suddenly, a new figure, a man with black hair, appears. He stands over Ain't, holding a staff. Are you alright, Aint? He asks, his expression a mix of calm and concern. Ain't, in a moment of relief, realizes the newcomer is the main character, Fernan. Fernan smiles, but his eyes glow with a subtle red light. You look injured. He offers Ain't an antidote, and Ain't, grateful, accepts. Fernan then reveals his true nature. It's no fun if I get both of them. He and the female character, Lewina, reveal that the entire battle was a ruse to lure out the demons. They are a coordinated team. Fernan and Lewina have a terse exchange about their plan, where it is revealed that Lewina purposely let the demons go. Lewina says, I didn't lose him. I let him go on purpose. Fernan says, capture them alive. The scene shifts back to Fernan and the male demon he was interrogating. Fernan, in a rage, grabs the demon by the collar and says, Who are you? He demands to know why the demon infiltrated his merchant guild. Why did you infiltrate my merchant guild? The demon's body begins to swell and boil as he casts a self-destruction spell. Get away. He's casting a self-destruction spell. Ain't screams. Lewina rushes to Fernan's aid, creating a powerful barrier to protect them. The demon's self-destruction spell creates a massive explosion, but Fernan and Lewina are safe. Fernan then reveals that he knew about the demon's plans all along. He had seen the prophecy. He and Lewina have a playful, teasing exchange, as if the entire event was a test. It is then revealed that another member of their team, Bella, was with them all along, recording the events as a journalist. Fernan sends her to the ocean and says, We got the demons. Tell her to come on out. A loud cry from the ocean catches everyone's attention. What was that? Bella exclaims. It sounded like it came from the ocean. Ain't, hearing the cry, realizes what it is, that cry. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger, as a massive sea serpent rises from the ocean. Luina, Bella, and Fernan stand together, ready to face the new threat. Ain't is left behind, confused and injured, and Fernan tells him to rest and heal. Fernan says, I'll just bring him close to where the founding emperor's item is. He then tells Ain't he will join them once the poison in his body is gone. Fernan says, that'd be nice. As Fernan prepares to leave, Ain't calls out to him, Fernan, please tell me the truth. A surprised Fernan stops in his tracks. Ain't says, you already know everything. The chapter ends on a final twist as Ain't reveals that he also knows about the prophecy. A powerful confrontation unfolds in the forest at night as Berchef, bloodied and battered, faces off against Ain't. Berchef, still reeling from the shock, demands answers. What? Are you telling me Ain't knows about the prophecies, too? Ain't simply responds, what do you mean? With a serious and resolute expression, Berchef reveals the prophecy's subject, the demons. He then recounts the words of the founding emperor, recalling a grim vision of a demonic silhouette and a royal crown. Berchef explains that the prophecy foretold that the demons would make their way into this world once again. The narrative shifts back to the present, with a triumphant Berchef pointing at Ain't, proclaiming, so that's why you were discreetly preparing for it all. He declares that he has uncovered the truth. Berchef then reveals his identity, I'm the descendant of the founding emperor, and I only found out about this recently. So how do you know about it? Ain't, with a straight face, simply replies, I didn't. Berchef, now confused, asks again, so you didn't know about the prophecy? Ain't calmly responds, no. I didn't even know it existed. Berchef, utterly bewildered, asks the follow-up question, then how did you know they were demons? Ain't smoothly lies, claiming, I came across them a few times while chasing them down, and every single one of them had a very unpleasant energy. He adds, so I did some research and came to the conclusion that it was demonic energy. He then begins to say, it didn't seem like an ordinary affair, so I investigated with LU-, but stops abruptly. He looks pensive for a moment, then, with a confident smirk, declares, we'd better get going. Berchef, having a moment of realization, agrees, okay. It's not that far off. Berchef and Luina are now on the move. Luina, in the form of a blue spirit, is still suspicious. She warns Berchef, don't trust the Pellenberg so easily. Do you know how bad it was when he sold stuff to the demons? Berchef dismisses her concerns, stating, you always say that, but that happened 1,000 years ago. Luina vehemently disagrees, that doesn't change anything. The Pellenbergs are not to be trusted. Berchef continues to defend Fernan, why do you keep bringing up the past for no reason and hating on Fernan? As they continue their journey, Berchef expresses his frustration, plus, I'll only be the burden if we truly become allies. He adds, he's just so much stronger than M.A. Luina, sensing his despair, cheers him on, as if. You don't need to worry about that. She then announces, ta-da! We're here. Berchef, looking at a huge, ancient tree, asks, is this it? Luina's spirit excitedly tells him, yes. You'll become much stronger if you eat that. Berchef, confused, asks, eat what? The spirit clarifies, the miracle medicine that's inside it. Berchef, bewildered, asks how to get it, and the spirit simply replies, stab the tree. Berchef does as he is told, and a powerful, golden-white light bursts forth. Awestruck, he proclaims, the founding emperor made this himself. He adds, it's different from other miracle medicines. Luina's spirit then triumphantly declares, once you eat it, you'll completely change. A powerful blast of energy erupts from the island as Berchef consumes the medicine. The monster, which they were previously fighting, is now shown taking a massive amount of damage. Luina's sword fails to cut through it, and she exclaims, TCH. I can't cut through it. Its exterior is too hard. She is frustrated, and another character adds, raining down boulders on it doesn't do anything either. Ain't, seeing the monster's resilience, thinks to himself, it won't die even after taking lethal injuries. Is it because of the demonic influence? The narrative then takes a dramatic turn. We learn that Ain't took the miracle medicine himself. The narrator explains that the founding emperor created it in case his descendants would not have an affinity for the light element. The narrator continues, the medicine would restructure the body, enforcing a light affinity, so that his descendant could learn the secret sword technique of the army and household, which is based on light. The narrator then adds, however, if someone who already has an affinity for the light element takes it, it'll only strengthen their aura. The narrator clarifies, that is what happened to Aint. Now he can almost perfectly execute army and sword techniques. With his newfound power, Ain't effortlessly defeats the monster with a powerful, light-based attack. The narrator describes the sword techniques as hope for humanity that will drive away despair and darkness. A radiant sword that brightens the world and touches the soul. Ain't looks down at the defeated monster and says, it really is amazing. He thinks to himself that the historical records weren't exaggerating. The chapter ends with a shocking revelation. The narrative states that Berchev's plan was always to use Ain't as his ACE card in the battle against the demons. It is then revealed that Ain't's full name is Ain't Armian. The final image shows Ain't's triumphant face, his eyes glowing with power, leaving the audience to wonder what this new level of power means for the future. A great beast, its scales glistening under the sun, lies defeated at the water's edge. The ripples of the waves lap at its motionless body as Armian stands over it, his clothes stained with the battle. Looking down at the monster, he says quietly, "That's amazing." Of course, a voice shouts, "It's what the founding emperor had left behind, after all." Ha ha ha. As the others gather, a companion compliments Armian's swordsmanship. "It's just as great as I've heard." Another companion turns to Ain't, saying, "You saved us, Aint." Ain't, with a hint of a blush on his cheeks, responds humbly, "It was nothing. I basically just got the last attack. I was able to kill it easily thanks to you." The group discusses their next steps. "We can go home now," says the pink-haired woman. Armian asks, "How do we get out of here?" Ain't replies confidently, "I sent a signal, so someone should come pick us up." Then, in a more casual tone, he adds, "I'm gonna take the corpse if no one has any objections." "I don't need it," says the brown-haired woman, and Armian, slightly flustered, agrees, "I don't need it either." The pink-haired woman steps forward, looking annoyed, "I do. I helped, so we should share it." Ain't counters, "You're indebted to me though. Who purified that demonic energy for you?" The woman becomes silent. "TSK. Fine. Take it, USCROG," she exclaims. "Then I take it no one has any objection." Ain't begins to say, but a new voice interrupts. Fernan, I had been wondering about this." Ain't, looking utterly confused, listens to the new question. "You're also trying to catch the demons, right?" Yeah. Ain't replies. Armian steps in, his gaze fixed and serious. "If there are people corrupted by the demonic energy, it means that the actual demons will appear eventually too. Then, I want to help you," he says, placing a hand on his chest. Ain't smiles to himself, thinking, I was wondering how I should bring him over to my side. His expression darkens into a victorious smirk as the alliance is sealed. Days later, in a lavish office, a subordinate asks Ain't, right? Did you figure out how the demons got into the merchant guild?" "Yes. It seems like they got in a few days before the yacht club meeting," Aint's subordinate replies. He continues, "I asked the employees if they did not find it strange that there were suddenly new employees without any notice, but they've always worked with us." The employees' faces were full of confusion, as if they were unable to understand what was being asked of them. The subordinate continues, was their response. I believe so. Psychological type magic is my guess. I looked into them a bit. Ain't, intrigued, says, they thought they were employees that have always been there? Is it magic? The subordinate confirms his speculation, adding, apparently, manipulating the mind and soul is the demon's specialty. Ain't's mind races. The soul, he thinks. He ponders his own past. Then was that a demon's doing too? Oh. Am I possessing someone? Perhaps a demon is capable of such magic. But that doesn't explain the prophecy. Ain't's subordinate interrupts his thoughts, moving on, regarding the demons you captured. Oh, did you figure something out? Ain't asks. No. The confession spell wouldn't work on them, so we locked them up underground, the subordinate replies. Ain't leans back in his chair, saying, torture them if you need to. I have to go to class now. Is there anything else you needed to tell me? There was a message from the Duke, the subordinate says. Ain't's expression changes. From father? What is it? The Freudians are going to be providing the Academy with spirit stones and world tree leaves this time around, the subordinate explains. They had always left the transportation to US because of how valuable those items are, and the Freudians have chosen you to take charge of the transportation. Ain't's thoughts run wild. The Freudians wanted me specifically? Why? I don't see why it would need to be me. He feels a sense of dread. I have a bad feeling about this. In the Academy's Grand Hall, Armian and his companions walked together. I was really shocked by the demons, the pink-haired woman says. The brown-haired woman asks, why did Fernan say not to tell the Academy, though? Because we don't know who's an ally or enemy, the pink-haired woman replies. That's true. The brown-haired woman says, does he have a plan, then? I'm sure he does, the pink-haired woman says confidently. He always has a plan. You really trust him, don't you? The brown-haired woman replies. The pink-haired woman then asks, have you two been on this case ever since you became a pair? Yeah, I guess, the brown-haired woman says. I see. I thought it was strange, but that explains it, the pink-haired woman says. The brown-haired woman looks confused. What do you mean, she asks. The pink-haired woman reveals, there's no way you would be friends with Fernan Pellenberg. People said the only reason you got close to him was for his money. But it's actually to catch the demons, isn't it? The brown-haired woman says, looking hurt. The pink-haired woman, now convinced, says, cooperating with someone you hate for the greater good? You really are a knight. She then thinks to herself, she's a bit OFF, but, well, whatever. From a distance, Armian hears the conversation and smiles. As Armian continues walking, a companion notes, you look like you're in a good mood. I feel like I have less of a burden now, Armian replies. I was so stuck on how I should fight the demons before. Now I can just talk about it with Fernan. He's also happy because he'll see Lewina more often. A voice shouts, that's not what's important. The voice continues, that new money guy said that there are people already corrupted by the demons. Actually been corrupted. Humans that are tainted by the demonic energy will eventually have an incident and turn into a demon. We need to prevent that from happening. Armian, feeling the urgency, says, we have to gather as many allies as possible right now to prepare for the future. That's why I'm on my way to meet one. He then says to his companion, he's the one you strongly recommended to me, too. Approaching a figure with red hair, Armian smiles and says, "Oh, there he is." He greets him cheerfully, "Hui, Varian." Varian, surprised, replies, "Aint Armian?" Varian's face twists in anger. "Don't act friendly and just go your way. I'm here to meet someone." Armian, looking flustered, says, well. I'm the one you're supposed to meet. Fernan sent me here. Virian's anger turns to shock. What? Armian, now more direct, explains, I'll just be direct since you already know about all this. I'm helping Fernan take down demons. He said you'd be able to help me. Virian, still bristling, responds, You're pretty skilled. Armian, confused, says, Pretty skilled? Virian, his teeth gritted, yells, I don't want to hear that from the guy who defeated me. Are you mocking me? Armian tries to calm him down, and I'm serious. But Virian turns away, stomping. I'll never help you, even if I'm dead. Armian thinks sadly to himself, I knew it. He doesn't want to help. Appearing out of nowhere, asks Virian Kalbrudern. You're friends with him as well? Armian, slightly embarrassed, replies, It just kind of happened. Ain't smiles and says, It's good to have someone in your year help, don't you think? He's pretty skilled, so he should make a great ally. Armian expresses his doubts. But he really hates me. Still smiling, says, Don't worry about it. If he won't comply, just say this. Armian walks up to Virian, points his finger, and says, You. Virian looks at him in shock, a look of horror spreading across his face as Armian delivers the final blow. You were a demon, weren't you? In the aftermath of a heated confrontation, a blonde-haired young man, Armian, stands in a brightly lit hallway, trying to recall a past event. He holds a hand to his chin, an unsure look on his face as he muses aloud. When was it again? During midterms? The scene shifts dramatically to a close-up of Aunt Armian, his eyes wide with a mix of anger and sorrow, fangs bared in a painful snarl. A menacing purple-red aura surrounds him as he shouts, That was the day you lost to me for the second time, right? His mind flashes back to a pivotal moment, a battle that changed everything. Armian continues his revelation, his voice heard over the dark, chaotic imagery, You passed out during the battle. I heard that's when you turned. This truth causes Aunt Armian to cry out in anguish, His face contorts in a mask of pure horror, hands flying to his cheeks in complete disbelief. The narrative takes a light-hearted turn, depicting the two characters as comical chibi figures. Armian casually shares a crucial detail, I heard it would have been really bad if it weren't for Fernan. He then leans in conspiratorially, asking, did he mention that you can't remember what happened that day? The revelation sends Aunt Armian into a staggering, wobbly panic, but before he can respond, the scene reverts to reality. Armian is cut off mid-sentence as Aunt Armian, with a sudden, anxious motion, claps a hand over his mouth. Heub. Armian's eyes widen in surprise as he hears Aunt Armian frantically whisper, Shut up, will you? What if someone hears you? Now furious, Aunt Armian grabs Armian's face with a black-gloved hand, his eyes blazing with rage. What do you want from me, Auntie Armian? He growls, his voice laced with venom. Unfazed, Armian attempts a muffled invitation, Wee. Let's have lunch together. As Aunt Armian tightens his grip, a single droplet of spit escapes Armian's mouth, a comical end to his desperate attempt at conversation. The grand, pristine architecture of the academy stands in the distance, but the tranquility is shattered by a furious accusation. An unseen voice bellows, What is the meaning of this? You promised not to tell anyone. The source of the outrage is revealed to be Aunt Armian, his face a mix of rage and despair. And it's not just anyone, why did you tell Aunt Armian, my arch-nemesis, of all people, he yells, tears of frustration in his eyes. He is now clinging to the coattails of a calm, smirking man in a dark suit, who simply thinks, I knew he would come to me about it, but I didn't expect him to cry. Aunt Armian, with a defeated wail of desperately pleads his case. The man, Fernan Pellenberg, is not sympathetic. He calmly clarifies his position, I didn't say that. I said I wouldn't hand you over to the judges. He then adds insult to injury, asking, and what happened with AINT? Did he blackmail you for money? Ant Armian, now completely unraveled, shouts, that would have been better. He is humiliated by the truth. I had Tio go through the humiliation of eating lunch with him. In a flashback, a smiling Armian is seen offering food to a shadowy, miserable Ant Armian, as other students whisper, huh? Since when were those two close? The memory pushes Ant Armian over the edge. Crying uncontrollably, he sobs, he even gave me some of his food. Before collapsing to the floor in a fit of despair. What if everyone thinks we're friends? He wails, to which Fernan responds with a dry, unfeeling question, so what? Is that something to cry over? Fernan, exasperated by the theatrical display, scolds Ant Armian by his full name. Virian Kalbrudern. I thought you were smart, he says with a hint of a smirk. He then asks, don't you understand why I introduced you to AINT? Virian, confused and tearful, can only manage a hesitant, sorry? With a cold, calculated look, Fernan explains his grand strategy. If you stick by AINT, who's after the demons, you might be able to meet the one who turned you into one. He then challenges Virian, how long are you going to regret having turned? The words strike a chord in Virian. A single tear falls as a look of determination begins to replace his despair. Then the reason. I thought you were a knight. Is this all you are? He recalls, his eyes blazing with renewed purpose. With a triumphant shout of determined, he declares, it was to give me an opportunity for revenge. Fernan watches with a hint of a satisfied smile, noting, oh, the look in his eyes changed. Fernan, now walking away, continues his explanation, there is a chance since AINT's primary target is the demons. He tells Virian that since he has to get to class, he'll leave him with one final piece of advice, work with the enemy to defeat another enemy. A confused Virian looks on as the sound of a blade being unsheathed fills the air. Virian's hand grips his sword's hilt with resolve as he cries out, I, Virian Kalbrudern. To eliminate the demons so I can fulfill my revenge, he shouts, his voice booming with newfound purpose. The scene shifts back to the academy, where a professor is taking attendance. He calls out Ludgerschwaben, and a student responds with a simple here. Another student asks, where's Fernan, and a fellow classmate responds with a panicked, today's the practicals. The professor, clearly annoyed, mutters to himself, he's not skipping today, I see you, just as a voice calls out, here. Fernan, flanked by two other students, calmly stands in the doorway. Fernan apologizes, saying, sorry. I was talking to someone. The professor, now satisfied with the attendance, begins his lecture. He explains that some monsters exist so strong that you cannot take them on alone, with sturdy exteriors that are hard to pierce with weapons. He adds, and there are ones with high magic resistance that render mages useless. That is why cooperation between mages and knights is very important. He then reveals the challenge for the day's practical exam. He calls them dummies and golems that possess copies of certain monsters' traits. He warns, they can't move like the real thing, but if you underestimate them, you will fail. With a powerful flourish, he declares, let's begin. With a dramatic flash, the practical exam begins, and the first team goes to work. The teacher announces their victory, Kirillo Denev and Alia Torta. 2 minutes and 58 seconds. Another team follows, with a knight landing a final, powerful blow on a spider-like golem. The teacher announces their time, Ludgerschwaben and Ullman Donnertz. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Impressed, he notes, the high-ranking pairs sure are different. The teacher then calls the next duo, Fernan Pellenberg and Lewina Berchef. Go up. He reveals that the monster they will face is the Goliath, a monster that is on average about 3 meters tall, and its body is covered in stones. Its resistance to both physical and magic attacks is very high. But there are always solutions. Lewina, ever the strategist, says to Fernan, think about the monster's traits and weaknesses. She continues, revealing the monster's weak point, its weakness is its neck. I'll hold it still, so you go after its neck. In a surprising twist, Fernan scoffs at her plan, a small chibi version of himself appearing over his head. "And oh, I'll hold it still," he says, as Lewina's chibi head appears above hers. "It's pretty fast despite its size, you know." "I'll fight it," so a loud crash sounds as the Goliath charges forward, and the students gasp in shock, believing the pair has already failed. Lewina immediately conjures a massive magical shield, panting from the effort as she holds off the Goliath's immense power. Fernan smirks, his voice echoing in a detached monologue, "Who said I would? I was talking about holding it still." With a single, powerful spell, he completely immobilizes the Goliath, its body breaking apart and its magical core left exposed. Lewina, shocked and annoyed, demands, "What are you doing? Finish it off." The professor, now in awe, explains, "The method he used is a very difficult one, considering the amount of mana you need for it. But he pulled it off." With a final glance at his watch, he announces the final results. Fernan Pellenberg and Lewina Berchef. 53 seconds. The other students stare on in disbelief as Fernan and Lewina take first place. After their victory, Fernan smugly thinks to himself, "I got brownie points with Lewina once again." Only to be met with a cold, frustrated expression from her. He looks at her with a surprised, puzzled expression as he realizes, Lewina. She doesn't seem pleased at all. He can only watch as she glares at him, the sound of her pouting echoing in his mind, leaving the audience to wonder why their crushing victory has angered his partner.